Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the final round of the Irish Drift Championship and the last round of the Drift Super Series. We're here in Mondello Park and we're expecting a record attendance for the final of this championship, and also we have got the highest stacked grid in IDC history. More champions combined than anywhere else in the world this year, and also more podiums between them all than anywhere else in the world this year. The best in the business here and ready to do battle. We're going to talk to some of the drivers before they go to track, and it started with a little bit of rain early this morning. We promised drive for the rest of the day, but it looks like it's sketchy out there. We're going to start off with Mr. Adrian Walsh. Adrian, good to see you.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you're back in action in this little beastly Corolla.
Yeah.
Now, we were talking about this earlier on. Amazing car, sounds amazing, but a tough car to drive out there, and especially when you start off today with some tricky conditions.
Very tricky today, Dave. Absolutely really slippy on entry. It's just, the car just seems to wash out, but in fact, it actually works in my favour today because this car is so grippy. I'm actually pumping the tyres up and hardening the suspension to actually make it really drivable out there, and it actually seems to be working really well. I'm able to get out to all the clips. It's flowing, everything is good, no spin so far, but today is early yet. So.
But I suppose promised dry later on, and we're going to see this thing smoking some tyres later on. Yeah. Adrian, back in action last round of the year. You're aiming high today.
Yeah, I actually am. I'm super pumped. I haven't done much this year, but I'm back today and I'm really hoping to have some fun and mess things up a bit here among the large grids of serious drivers today. It is going to be a really tough competition, but I'm feeling good today so far, so you know, you never know, I might. But look, the main thing is we'll have some fun, make some noise, and hopefully it dries up and make plenty of smoke. That's
what I said, Adrian. We're glad to see that Corolla back on the grid. As I said, we'll see you out there later on. We're going to move it along the order. Mr. Pete Nielsen over here, and he's looking, look at it, look at the pose on Pete Nielsen, huh? He's looking ready to rock and roll, Pete. It's Jaffest, baby.
Oh, yeah.
The queue outside the gate has just been recorded at 5 miles long. It's backing up to the motorway. That many people coming here, the biggest, most stacked grid in IDC history, and you're shooting for a top 3 in the championship.
Do you know what? We can actually hit second in the championship this weekend, and it's just unbelievable. I mean, the Drift Games 180SX is just, I mean, it's just been rocking it out all year. I'm not surprised that there's a 5-mile queue outside to get in. If I wasn't driving, I'd be in that queue right now. I mean, it's just unbelievable. If you're in Ireland, get here today. If you're not, get on the live stream on idcnation.com. Get in there. This is just going to be unbelievable.
Pete, we're all rooting for you. SR20 for the win, as always. Team Drift Games. And we will see Pete in action later on. We're moving it across to our two Quins Coach Hour drivers. Looking, as I said, a little quietly confident out there. Sketchy conditions out there, Joe, but you've been throwing it in hard from practice on Friday. Growing into every round this year and looking very confident.
Yeah, it's the last round of the year. It's going to be a big push today. Like Mondello, conditions sort of suit the boat. So,
but of course now Joe Doyle rocking in here from the Pro-Am class last year. There's a lot of James Deans out there and Bagsies and Phil Morrisons, and you're getting up close and personal with all of them. You're looking to take down some big names today?
We're definitely going to try. Sure, Dunleary proved that we're not here just to take part. Like.
Well, we're best of luck to it, and we'll see you out there on the grid later on. Moving along the order, we have a man returning to action this weekend, Mr. Kevin Quinn. Kev, what's up? I was about to say, some of the scariest chase driving I've ever seen in Friday practice. You're back with a bang this year, and the car is working perfect.
Yeah, the car's going good. Like, I'm happy with it. Just hope with track days out here this morning we'll have some good fun, like, on track.
Well, look, good to have you back, buddy. We're rooting for you later on. Thank you very much. Two men from opposite sides of the country, looking very relaxed before we go to. Well, we've got Anthony, who was on his honeymoon for Watergrass Hill, so you missed that one. But back with a bang this weekend, looking very strong out there. But again, guys saying, and the mud on your car would suggest conditions a little sketchy.
Yeah, we were flying it there on Friday. Just after being out of the car for so long, I said just getting into the hang of it again on Friday. And Saturday, yesterday was very comfortable with the dry, and this morning was decent enough. But I think the track is covered in some sort of a fluid there, and it didn't go very well there. But so look, we'll keep on trying anyway.
Well, Anthony, of course, you had a big result here at round 1. Similar layout seems to suit you here when it gets to the battles. Looking forward to competition later on.
Yeah, really looking forward to the competition. I can never do practice days very well, or practice in general, but if I get into a twin battle, I'll do my very best and hope to come out the best of it all, you know.
Well, best of luck, Anthony. You're having an awesome season so far. Next up is a man who's had his car not on the ground for most of this event. It's been sitting up on axle stands. Talk us through it, Brian. You know, it seemed like one of those years where the car works, but when it doesn't, it's knocking you out. It hasn't been a huge amount of driver error this year. It's been a lot of silly problems. And again, this weekend, another issue.
Yeah, mechanical failures have kind of cost me at nearly every round this year. And we keep on fixing it for the next round and something else. It's always something else. So this round it was clutch. We took it out Friday night and put another one in. James Dean lent me one. Dropped it, thought we'd be good for practice yesterday, but just slipping. So it would turn out to be a release bearing or something. So again, did it all yesterday, taking the gearbox out. And now it does seem fine, but I've missed out on any dry practice and can't really tell in the wet whether it's slipping still or not. And I'm guessing qualifying might be dry, so it'll kind of be all or nothing, kind of learning it quickly. But I've driven this track before, it's not the end of the world, and I prefer it dry. So yeah, I'm still confident enough. The car is getting better and better every round, and really it was just we didn't maintain it enough over the last few years. This year we put massive effort into it, and I think for next year we're getting a really reliable package, and it's competitive now as well.
Yeah, because a lot of people saying you're probably the best driver on the grid this year to not win a round, because you've been in and around the mix, and when it looked like you were going to take home the top spot, it was silly things in the car going wrong. Today, hoping for a bit of luck. Last year, again, Jaff Fest cost you, but a little bit this year coming back with a vengeance.
Yeah, exactly. I'm feeling really confident chasing now. The car's very fast now, and that's all I wanted, is just a chance to get up, to get on a guy's door. Before I didn't really have the pace to do it, but now I do, and I'm willing to roll the dice to see how it works out. So yeah, hopefully it stays together and get into the mix, and the confidence will grow with every battle I go. So if I can just get through the first few, I'll feel it, and I'll be hoping to take it this finally a win.
It's been a long time coming, and we're all rooting for you, Brian. We'll see you out there on the grid for qualifying. We're moving along the order, and obviously a lot of cars having some issues. As you can see, there's a hugely stacked grid here. We're going to move a little bit up forward, but some of the biggest things to note is our international contingent, which have made the trip over, and some in very unusual form, as Jerome Vassia back at Jaff Fest, back from France, and back in another SR20 powered Corolla. Having fun out there, Jerome?
A lot of fun, for sure. Always when I come in IDC, you know, everybody's so gentle, with the smile, the staff, the drivers, the team, the mechanics, and the fans. So I will be back for sure next year. And today is really difficult because the setup with the car, so not so much laps, so many laps, but I enjoy. That's the most important thing. Just drive for fun.
So you're having fun, you're enjoying the atmosphere, and I suppose doing well is a bonus, right?
I will do my best, for sure.
Jerome, au revoir. So we've said bonjour to Jerome Vassia, one of our international drivers making the way over, and got a little bit of gap to talk about some of the other stories that have been going on this weekend. One is, of course, the man who took two of the biggest events this year, Dwayne McKeever, two-time IDC champion. He has been, I suppose, having the toughest weekend. Friday practice, 3 laps done, blows the engine, Conrad through the block. Instead of giving up, Richard Bradley sacrifices his own practice in the pro class, and they head to Stone Motorsport. They get an engine yesterday morning, they build an engine from scratch, they dyno it, the car makes over 700 horsepower, and he's back on the grid today. Also, for one of the lowest horsepower cars on the grid, David Hobbs, he's putting an engine back in. He's really up against it when it comes to time. It's very hard to know if he's even going to make the grid this morning. There's a lot of panic, a lot of stress, and of course with the last round of the year, there's a lot of drivers on this grid that can take down the best in the business. We're going to go talk to one of those best in the business. He is, of course, coming all the way from Formula Drift, and he is Peter Wiańczek. Peter, how are you? How are you?
Very good, thank you.
So, we're good, we're good. Of course, a little bit of rain this morning.
Yeah.
Track is a little bit sketchy, but you've had some wet and dry practice, and of course, a brand new car for you this weekend. Talk us through it. You seem to be smiling all weekend, having fun. You're here with your teammate James Dean in Ireland, in his backyard. You going to try and cause an upset today?
Definitely, I will try my best. As you said, I'm in a different car. It's a great adventure, great entertainment for me. I'm really having fun here. The guys here are awesome. The organization is great. The weather is a bit tricky. Now I have a possibility of experience both of them in this car. So I think it should be good. We will give our best, and maybe we will see with James in some tandem. So it will be great fun then, and definitely meeting with every one of these guys in the battle will be a tough one. So it will be interesting for me, definitely.
But also, I said, you've picked up an awful lot of Irish fans this year, of course, being with James over in Formula Drift. We're hearing that there's a lot of Peter Wiańczek fans here this weekend, hoping that you can take down this streak, thinking you're the most deserving guy, but it's not going to be easy.
Oh no, it won't go be easy, definitely. The track is difficult, actually. You have to focus. You have a fast initiation, then you have to slow down, and to the last corner accelerate again. So you have to be focused. I have to be focused really on the throttle in this car, but we'll see. We'll see. It will be interesting for sure.
But we wish you all the best of luck. And as I said, best of luck for Formula Drift for the rest of the season too. Moving along, we have another man who's running away from us. Is Steve Bagsy Viaggioni, trying to hide. And one man who can't hide today is Bagsy, because Bagsy, you've been coming here a while now trying to beat this streak, and right now everybody's looking very strong, including you. A good practice, everything's gone well. If you can get those gremlins, which have cost you a couple of results here in the past, out of your way, you could do damage here today.
Yeah, I mean, so far so good. I mean, practice has been good. The conditions aren't exactly ideal, but everyone's been stepping the game up again. So it just goes to show how strong this grid is. You know, there's not one driver I can think of that I would say is going to be an easy run into the top 16 from the 32. Even qualifying is going to be tough. You know, there's like 40-something drivers going for 32 spots, and with the weather conditions changing at the moment, who knows? You know, the guy that goes in a little bit slower on a bit more of a conservative run might score really high than us lot trying to go amazing to push each other and make little mistakes. So it's all to play for. And some of the guys that have come up from the Pro-Am yesterday, I watched one of the runs earlier. Amazing, absolutely amazing. So who knows?
But of course, you're going to be going for top spot as always, representing Monster Energy there this weekend, and instead having fun though at the same time out there.
Yeah, I've always said the biggest winner in drifting is the guy that walks away with the most fun. So let's leave it there.
Absolutely. Best of luck for later on. We'll see you soon, buddy. We're getting further and further towards the start of our qualifying session. You guys can check it out. We are going live on track at 11 o'clock, and that is when it really matters. It's the last round. They get 2 chances to get into the big show. Remember, the top 16 kicks off at 4 o'clock this evening, but before that we have got a top 32 format. That's shaking things up, and a couple of the guys that have made big impacts into the championship is guys like Michael Meighan, Ryan Morton, guys who may not have got here all year, but they're here now, ready to do some damage, and cars looking very, very strong. We are ready for the craziest drift event in Irish drift history. We are ready to see who can take it down. 2 championships on the line. We have a streak of 14 years on the line, and more importantly, the pride of winning the biggest event in Irish drift history on the line. It all happens here live today, and we can't wait to see what happens. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Mondello Park. It is the final round of by Eddie Power. I am, of course, Dave Egan, and we are ready to talk you through what will be one of the craziest days in Irish drift history. The most stacked grid we've ever had here in the history of the championship. We took the statistics last night. We crunched the numbers. I'm going to say I crunched them. I definitely did not. Someone else crunched them. And we have more champions on the grid today than in any competition in the world this year.
Yeah, and very importantly, we have a brand new champion on the grid in Conor Shanahan, the Pro-Am champion from yesterday. But you know what? He's fresh off a BDC Pro Championship win as well. So he is coming here gunning for blood. A young gun coming up against years and years of experience. But you know what? Definitely don't count him out. I'm very excited to see what happens today.
I think excitement is definitely the word to sum up what's about to happen. It's the last game day of the season. Everybody goes out, and every driver is saying, if I'm leaving bumpers, I'm not leaving bumpers and panels out there on the track today, I wasn't trying hard enough. We're going to have a bit of a switch around. Let's talk you through what today means. Well, here's the thing. The championship for the Irish Drift Championship is probably going to be sorted out in the next hour or so. And the reason being is that if Jack Shanahan qualifies in the top 4 positions in qualifying, he will automatically win the 2017 and his first IDC Championship. But that's not the end of the story. Where that continues from there is then the other story. 14 years of an undefeated streak, and we have looked at practice and we said this is the biggest challenge yet. We've talked about this at many Global Warfares. There's actually more nationalities here than at Global Warfare in any year. Also, they're in their own car and they're ready to rock and roll.
And we're praying for that streak to be taken down because
we
are sick of talking about it.
Yeah, and with Peter Viansek, Formula Drift Rookie of the Year, not to mention 3 Formula Drift drivers on the grid, and Dean Carney, James Dean and Peter Viansek. Take it across to the UK. Well, you're looking at the current 2017 BDC champion Matt Carter lining up after taking down the Shanahans this year. You're also looking at Bagsy coming off wins, and he's beaten James Dean in the past. You're looking at Phil Morrison, Martin Richards, Slide Motorsport, all these guys making the trip for this unique occasion. And right now, we are going to switch it around from most of the events we've had this year, because what's happened this year is we've started with perfect dry conditions and we've gone into the battles and it's got wet towards the end. It's made it unpredictable. Today, it's going to be the opposite. We're going to start on a patchy circuit. No rain promised today. It will dry up, but however, the heavy rain overnight has left that circuit very patchy and a lot of mud and a lot of...
If it was fully wet, you can see patches around the circuit where the day continues.
A lot of drivers, even Sultan Al-Qasimi from the Middle East, was saying he did one lap, spun, and went in and said he loves his mother too much to try another one. He's going to wait for it to dry out.
He said to me, far too sketchy out
Far
there.
too sketchy. So it's going to be a very, you look at it, there's a huge stack grid. We've got 49 drivers on the grid going for top 32 places. That means we're going to eliminate quite a few at the start. We saw the scores rise at the cutoff point upwards of 81 at round 1. Expect some big runs to be going in, but with the conditions the way they are, expect some big names to struggle too. So let's talk now, True. What is this circuit? What are they trying to do? If you're new to drifting, if you've never watched it before, well, we're going to get one of our judges, Kevin O'Connell, to explain what's going to score that perfect 100 in qualifying.
Thanks, Dave. So starting from the start line, we want drivers to accelerate up as hard as possible. No lift off before initiation. Drivers can either clutch kick, feint or handbrake initiation, but feint or clutch kick will score higher. We won't be marking down too much for a little dab at a handbrake, but we really want drivers to either clutch kick or feint entry if possible. We want for drivers to first slide the rear of the car through clipping point 1. Then just before clipping point 2, we want them to be on full throttle, sliding the front of the car through clipping point 2, maintaining full throttle all the way out to clipping point 3 on the outside of the track, sliding the rear of the car through that. Then we want the drivers to nice smooth transition back onto an outside clip on clipping point 4. We want them to maintain a nice outside wide line all the way around mobile 1 corner from clipping point 4 to 5. Coming up to clipping point 5, we want them to start coming away from the outside of the track slightly. Nice smooth transition back onto clipping point 6. Then transition back onto the wall on clipping point 7, running through clipping point 7 to the outside of the outside line between 7 and 8. Rub the wall again on clipping point 8, and then another transition back and an outside clip onto clipping point 9 and over the finish line.
So there you have it from our judge Kevin O'Connell. So we have drivers from Ireland, Northern Ireland, England, Wales, France, Poland, Hungary,
Australia,
Romania, the Middle East, both Abu Dhabi and Dubai. We have a huge selection of drivers here. A lot of V8s, a lot of 2Js, and even some SR20s still trying to pull big punches here in the championship. And all the way down to David Hobbs running just 199 horsepower. Big stories already. Dwayne McKeever blew an engine in Friday practice, 3 laps, engine gone. Richard Bradley and all the guys got to Stone Motorsport yesterday. They built a 700 horsepower engine, mapped it and dynoed it, and ready to go in 1 day to be here for the big show. David Hobbs just threw another engine in, and we've also received word that Jack Shanahan missing practice this morning because of trouble with the car. I gave him a thumbs up, thumbs down as I drove by. He said thumbs up, but he looked worried. Pressure on everybody today.
Yeah, steering issue for Shanahan's, but Dave, we talk about the problems that Shanahan's are facing. We talked about it yesterday for Connor, but they always find a way of making it work. John Shanahan is just a miracle worker. He can just make anything work, even if it means it's only going to work for a couple of runs.
Eddie, those cars are now on their 10th event each this year, and this is when things start to get tired, and this is where mechanical failures can play, and it always plays a part at Jaffa Fest. Let's hope those guys can get to a fair fight on the grid. So let's talk you through exactly what, if you're new to drifting, if you're just coming to Jaffa Fest, and we're expecting 700 show cars here today on site, huge crowd, record-breaking attendance as the gates start to fill and the car parks start to fill. Let's talk you through what drifting's all about. What are the guys going to be trying to achieve in qualifying? Well, let's look at the qualifying criteria. So here's how it works. Each run is scored out of a maximum of 100 by our 3 judges. Each driver will make 2 non-consecutive passes of the course, and they're in reverse championship order, with our international guests running last. The average score from all 3 judges will count as a driver's run score. A target speed is set during practice and set at a specific part of the course. That is at clip 2, which is on the inside of the first corner. That is not initiation speed, that is full drift speed, and the drift speed target is 90 kilometers an hour. So 90 kilometers an hour is the target speed.
And what's interesting to note about that as well, Dave, is that as the track dries, those speeds will increase, which will give an advantage to some of the other drivers.
Absolutely. And for every, as I said, we'll go back to the criteria for a moment. Every driver receives 0.25 points for every kilometer an hour above that, and lose 0.25 of a point for every kilometer an hour below that target speed. Drivers will be deducted points for momentary loss of drift, understeer, dropping 1 to 3 wheels off the circuit, or being on the incorrect judging line. Drivers will score 0 for a complete loss of drift, spinning out, or dropping 4 wheels off the circuit. Drivers will be rewarded for increased speed, fluidity, angle, correct judging line, and driving style. It's important to note that if a driver is not in the correct grid position, they will lose that run. initiation, that means how they begin the drift coming up over the hill here at Mondello, is open. You can handbrake, you can clutch kick or weight transfer, with a clutch kick or weight transfer scoring higher. Now, important also to note that the judges will be looking out for that wide line. This circuit is all about staying to the very edge of the circuit with that risk reward. Put your rear wheels into the grass or off the circuit, you're going to lose points. Get it right on the edge of the tarmac and close to those 2 exterior concrete walls, you're going to score maximum points. It looks like we are ready here at Mondello for qualifying. It's an early start today, Eddie, so everybody's shaking it off as we head to a very, very heated top 32 later on, and then we're going to roll it through to the main event top 16. I'm predicting some very big upsets here today.
Yeah, I mean, look, Japfest is notorious for bringing stories, and when you have such a stacked grid, I mean, there's going to be big battles from top 32 onwards. Even to qualify here, a lot of drivers, as you mentioned, Dave, are going to be going home without even qualifying into that top 32. We will start the qualifying in reverse order, and it will be our Pro-Am qualifiers from yesterday. This is Ryan Morton in a borrowed car from Alan Hines, has his own car.
So he hasn't done a lap in this car ever before. So, as I said, Alan Hines, who came second in the Pro-Am Championship, did not make it to the top 4, however, even though he has a pro license for next year. And he will lend his car to Ryan Morton, who did finish in the top 4 yesterday. So he's got to try and get into qualifying, his first ever pro qualifying session in a car he's never driven before. And he's got to throw it in there at upwards of 70 miles an hour. What a moment for the youngster, Ryan Morton from Dublin, who has to try and do it all here.
Yeah, well, Ryan showed exactly what he's capable yesterday, with mechanical difficulties, making it all the way to the finals and into the main event. Just see a little bit slower on entry than you'd see these guys normally do. Very, very delicate as they come down into that tight section of the track, but Ryan doing a really good job here, keeping it nice and wide, and very high on that Mobile 1 bank section of the track. You can see as he just switches it back, judges saying that it's okay to drop a wheel just there over that line and nicely down onto the wall. And you know what? Ryan Morton in a car that he has never driven before, Dave, absolutely doing a phenomenal job out on track on his first attempt.
That's impressive, guys. Give him a round of applause. Youngster coming through the Pro Drift Academy, right through the Pro, or the IADC, the Irish Amateur Drift Championship, and now he had a car he's never even driven before. He puts a score on the board. It is a 52.8 mid score for Ryan Morton, but he'd be happy just to get a run under his belt.
Yeah, you know, drift speed there of 80 kilometers, so a little bit down off the target speed as well, so that would have deducted a few
And you can see, Eddie, how many people have gone off this track from how much tyre marks are left in the grass already. The gardener will be busy in Mondello tomorrow, I'm sure. But next up, we have got an incredible car, 15-inch wheels, Cosworth powered Sierra of Jordan Boyce, just 15 years of age, hit the podium yesterday in 3rd position. Got a podium in the British Drift Championship this year as well. An incredible car. Sequential gearbox Sierra, Cosworth engine, going against the grain completely in the build, and you can see how hard he's pushing with so much damage.
Would you believe that the wipers even work on the headlights and they spray water? I mean, you know, usually guys are trying to take things away from the car. Pretty much everything on the outside of this is almost standard.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal machine.
You know,
15-inch wheels, still keeping it real here.
We are starting to see exactly what Jordan Boyce is made of lately, and he goes top after 2 with a score of 60, and definitely one to watch.
Yeah, 15 years of age. One of the youngsters rising through the ranks. Another guy rising through the ranks is Alan McNeil in this SR20 powered Corolla. Alan, another driver, came through the Irish Amateur Drift Championship into Pro-Am with a Storm. Got a podium yesterday. Now he gets to try it out with the big boys.
He certainly does, and he looked so fast here yesterday. All the other drivers really struggled to keep up with him, Dave. And
yeah, left foot braking through the first corner there, Eddie.
Yeah, just not getting out as wide as he would have hoped. Missing a couple of clipping zones here. Not the standard of run that we were seeing from Alan McNeil yesterday, dropping a few too many wheels off the track there, clipping that cone. Judges saying going that far out certainly will be a deduction. Yeah, a very scrappy run here from Alan McNeil.
I think you're going to see a little bit of this, Eddie, as the track goes from wet to dry. They've had wet laps earlier on. They're kind of got themselves dialed in. They might be still on a wet setup. Problem with a wet setup is they obviously drop the tire pressure, soften the suspension. When you get a little bit, when it starts to dry up, that becomes way too grippy. So that's where you start to see the car do things the driver's not expecting. Very difficult thing to do drifting in the first place. Never mind when you're not sure what the conditions are on the track. But one man who seems to be Alan McNeil scoring a 47.2 there. One man who seems to be getting around all conditions this year is your current and reigning now 2017 Pro-Am champion at just 14 years of age. He is the youngest champion in European history.
Yeah, Conor Shanahan seems immune to track conditions. No matter what way it is, he comes out and it's just foot to the floor each time. A full wet setup when he won last week in the British Drift Championship, and certainly won't be phased by the wet conditions here in Mondello.
No.
As he comes down the stretch, the 14-year-old phenom and your 2017 Pro-Am champion, Conor Shanahan, nailing the circuit so far. Nice and wide out to that third outer clipping zone. And Conor Shanahan showing us exactly how it should be done here as he puts foot to the floor, getting nice and wide now. right along that wall. Really nice here from Conor Shannon. Almost loses the rear bumper off the second wall clipping zone and crosses the line.
Almost lost the rear lights because he has no rear bumper, and also the light panel fiberglass as well. A lot of guys switching to fiberglass panels on the cars, obviously knowing they're going to be hitting quite a few things over the year, but Conor Shannon puts in a very, very good run, 68.6 and kilometers an hour, 98 kilometers an hour on drift speed there, almost 10 kilometers more than any other driver so far. But that wet dry causing him not to be as confident on some of the clips as he would have liked. So he's going to have a little bit of work to do, and I can imagine as this dries out, the confidence will grow into the grid and we'll start to see some big runs. Next up, you talk about big horsepower and you talk about crazy builds. Well, this is one of the craziest. Turbo V8 S15 of Alan McCord, car running over 700 Newton meters of torque. And Alan hasn't been seen this year in the Irish Drift Championship. He's been concentrating actually on his sons, who are very accomplished motorcycle racers at the moment, and very young kids, but doing some great things in the Irish motorcycle scene. And Alan switching back for the final round of the year, saying, I'm coming back to just get this thing right, get this thing dialed. And a very tentative lap so far. He didn't get a whole lot of laps in practice. Oh, and cutting massively across the track there.
Yeah, really almost looked as though that could have been 4 wheels off track for Alan McCord. We'll just see, will the judges deem that worthy of a score? Just waiting for, yes, so it is a score for Alan McCord. A 49 for him sees him into 4th position, temporarily of course, as we move it along, Dave, to our next driver.
Yeah, which would be Kieran Casey, if I'm not mistaken. Kieran Casey borrowing a car from Tom Murphy, who was eliminated yesterday. It was an amazing car. This actually runs a 500 horsepower SR20 under the bonnet, if not 600 horsepower on a good day. And he is borrowing a car, issues with his own. After 2 days of faultless practice, he has to switch it over to a brand new car as well. Guys, just want to get out for the last run of the year, but this is an uphill battle here.
Yeah, not exactly what ideal circumstances when you're coming out onto a track with no practice. First time ever driving the car will be into that first corner. You can just see a very sketchy entry there for Kieran Casey. And yeah, struggling to get this car to initiate properly.
Yeah, something up with the car maybe. I mean, not even attempting the lap there, as you can see. Or maybe it's, sorry, maybe Adam Nagy on the line. I'm not too sure. Is it Adam Nagy? My mistake. It's not Kieran Casey. It's Adam Nagy. I was saying my mistake. It is our visiting driver from Central Europe, and he is having issues with that car as well. Having issues with the car that he was borrowing this weekend, now having issues as well. My mistake there, Eddie. Sorry, is a similar helmet to Kieran Casey, I think, or I was a little bit mistaken there, but Adam not getting the perfect start, and it looks like definitely an issue with the car there. Definitely a stall up straight away. So 0 on the board for him after the first run, and a limp back to the pits, and I'm sure Tom Murphy and the guys will get behind that car. The guys from Zestino Tire will be making sure he gets a good chance in the second.
Yeah, we move it on to the returning Kevin Quinn.
Looking ridiculously aggressive in practice. Ridiculously.
As always.
I mean, he was making dives in twin battle practice on Friday that I've never seen pulled off in Mondello before. Whether he knew what was going to happen or not, he looks like he's gunning for it this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's that aggressive style that got Kevin Quinn into the pro class, and we're delighted to have him back here. He's representing Quinn's Coach Tire and Zestino Tires.
Yeah, you see how patchy that entry is, Eddie. Very treacherous at the moment.
Yeah, guys really struggling with it. It's, you know, wet and dry. Very hard to know what way to approach that entry, but Kevin Quinn now doing a good job. You can just see as the smoke starts to appear from those rear tyres that the track is starting to dry out in certain areas as Kevin throws it right down onto the wall.
This car running a 700 horsepower 2JZ. And he made pro class after just 1 year of competitive drifting, so he definitely not a fish out of water here. And the coach driver from Quinn's Coach Tire in the north of Ireland puts a score on the board. I imagine it's going to be right up there. Yeah, 65.7 for Kevin Quinn. We're not seeing full confidence from the grid right now, but I think when they get that first run in the bag, they'll know the track is not going to get any wetter, so they're going to push a little harder on the second run. Next up, a man also returning to action after some mechanical difficulties this year is Michael Megan from County Meath, 600 horsepower RB25. This runs the HGT gearbox, and he said, you know what, this is the last round. He couldn't miss it. He's had they've had some family issues, and wishing them all the best, but they said couldn't miss Jaffest. Couldn't miss Jaffest. Had to come back out in front of the big crowd. Let's hope Michael Megan gets a very, very good run in here. Oh, coming in very hot.
Yeah, big entry there from Michael Egan as he throws on the angle into that first corner. Now, can he keep it pinned? Certainly looked good. Just comes away from that 4th clipping zone a little bit early, missing 5, Dave. Missing that 5th zone. Now he needs to just tighten it up here for the final section of the track. Throws it nicely down onto the wall. You can see him steering hard. And just battling to keep that car very snappy transition through that final section of the course.
It is, and a lot of drivers saying it's very unnatural, very difficult, and I think that's why our judges have laid that track out, saying that they wanted to make it as difficult as possible, knowing the standard of driving that's going to be here this weekend. They want to make it a challenge, so it is catching a couple of guys out. Michael Megan scoring a 56 on his first run. Next up, well, you know what you've got. If you've got an 86 Corolla, and you might, a lot of people are fans of them here at Jap Fest, the best thing to do is to throw in an LS2 V8. Yeah. And then make over 600 horsepower and torque out of it, and create one of the craziest cars in the history of the IDC. 6-speed sequential gearbox, YS-Fab, Winters differential, quick change on the back end of the car. Adrian said this car is almost undrivable, but he loves it for the thrill it gives him to get around track, and he's looking pretty strong this weekend on his return.
Yeah, Adrian, you can never really count him out on his day. One of the best in the business, and judged that almost to perfection, because any faster and that car could have had some serious damage.
Yeah, look, you can see they actually fitted a rear bumper bar to that car, which has just come into very good use there, as it saves any rear end damage. But he put a bumper on. That'll be an interesting one. Adrian Walsh looking very strong in Friday and Saturday practice.
Yeah, not the return he was hoping for there, though. No, 0 on his first run and leaving it all to the second run.
Yeah, Sadie suffers a little bit with the nerves. And here's a man who had to put an engine into his car yesterday, which shows, if your local mechanic is talking a couple of weeks, these guys are doing it overnight. And it is going to be David Hobbs. He has the lowest horsepower car on the Pro Grid, 199.5 brake horsepower.
And that was on the old engine. We don't know what the new engine is, but we can't
imagine. Even break the 200 mark. You just wouldn't know. But he is it's an Altezza engine, 2-litre, Yamaha beams, homemade front suspension and steering setup. It has a Pajero rear axle from Mitsubishi Pajero, and it is reinforced clutch pedal setup because he uses the clutch more than anybody else on a circuit. But let's see if he can get himself into the mix. He was hoping for rain this weekend. He's got a patchy circuit. Let's see how he goes.
Yeah, going well so far, nice and wide. And a very good line here from David Hobbs. He just carrying too much momentum into Mobile 1 and spins out.
And he has to carry a lot of momentum on this track, as he mentioned. He hasn't got the safety net of power to get himself out of trouble. So as you can see, hitting that very slippy outside line and looking like there's no grip out there. And I think there'll be a war of attrition this qualifying session for guys who are so comfortable in both the wet and the dry. Now they've got to deal with both at the same time.
Yeah, a lot of guys going off at that point of the track as well. Maybe a little bit of muck being dragged back onto the track, making it even more slippy for the guys. You just see.
Yeah, the crowd starting to pile in here to Jap Fest, and you know what? The car park's filling up very rapidly as well.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen so many trade stands here.
One man who could have brought a load of people to Jap Fest is Brendan Stone, because he's got 4 seats in his car, because it is the drift taxi built by Stone Motorsport. A 750 horsepower 2JZ with 4 harnesses, 4 seats. It's the most powerful taxi in the world as far as we're concerned. And Brendan, of course, an ex-Irish champion, also won a touring car and a very accomplished rally driver. Now he's got to take all that experience into this first lap.
Yeah, the guys at Stone Motorsport built this as kind of an advertisement tool for what they can do in their new workshop. But you know what, they got a little bit more competitive. They wound up the boost, and this car pushing out over 700 brake horsepower. And Brendan Stone just washing a little bit wide there. He needs to tidy this up through the final section.
Important to note, the car they're actually building for next year is a Nissan S15 with a K24 Honda turbo engine in it. That's going to be insane. So this is like the last run out of the demo car. Next year they're coming for the championship, but Brendan Stone still puts a good score on the board, and at the moment goes top with a 69. So he goes top at the moment. Our next driver on the line is Darren Coates, stroked SR 2.2 under the bonnet. Darren Coates struggling in practice, it looked like to me, didn't get a lot of laps, having issues with the car, had a great run out at Watergrass Hill, Eddie. Looked very strong in his return, but today I think he's on a wing and a prayer here to hope to put in a very solid run. Conditions working against him, however.
Yeah, this car and his driving style very suited to that Watergrass Hill layout, but as you say, Dave, just seems to be struggling to get comfortable here this weekend. Now, will he be able to put it together when it really matters? And doing a nice job so far in the Turbo Services 180SX.
Yeah, a little tentative trying to get out to the edge of Mobile 1. Maybe a clever idea staying on the track, but however, does miss those 2 outer clips. So, at big angle here, looks like he's going to almost over-rotate, and yeah, it's a sketchy finish to the run, Eddie, and it's going to score him down with the judges.
Yeah, it certainly is. He may just keep his scores. It wasn't a full spin, but certainly
I would say qualifying at the moment, not a reflection on what we saw in practice in that full dry, and we know it is going to be dry later on, so we are expecting for a crazy top 32, but I think qualifying at the moment is going to be a very tough game for all of these guys.
Yeah, Darren Coates does score a 52. Gaining obviously a lot of points for his good start to that run, but losing a lot of those points then with the big error at the end. So we move it on to Kieran Casey, who is in his own car, but we did see him limp back to the pits earlier on, maybe suffering some mechanical difficulties in this car.
Yes, support worker from Limerick, 470 horsepower, stroke SR 2.2. And he said podium finishes at the IDC and BDC last year, moved into the pro class, but struggling to find form this year in the pro class. A very wild initiation and a very wild transition means he also ends up ploughing and Mobile 1 and running 2 wheels off the circuit. It's going to hurt his score. We're going to see drivers try and figure that Mobile 1 corner out. It's going to get, you know, a very, very messy with a lot of guys dragging mud back onto the circuit there. You're going to have to really push the talent level here to see if these guys can make it.
Yeah, well, you know, we heard Nigel Colfer talking about it last night, how difficult that Mobile 1 section is because you're carrying so much speed into it and you just need to scrub the right amount but keep your momentum up as well so that you don't slow too much into that corner. So
yeah, and of course remember the cars get faster every year, but the track doesn't get bigger, so they got to slow down a lot faster too. So not slowing down enough was Kieran Casey.
Kieran Casey puts in a score of 28.
Yeah, TJ Burney will be the next driver on the line, the Auto Factor salesman from Wexford, representing Zestino Tires, Samco Hoses and Goodrich Hoses. He has a 380 horsepower SR20, down the order in terms of power, but not with grip with those Destinos. Said it transformed the car this year, but look at that. Looked like he had a wet setup on the car, came into the first corner with not enough speed to straighten him out a little bit.
Yeah, TJ, a very, very steady driver. Always gets his line dialed in to perfection nice and early, and a tough guy to come up against. You know what, if you're fighting for a championship, not a driver that you would want to be battling early on.
Always very steady though, a really good line driver, does exactly what the judges want generally, but I think the initiation hurting him a little bit there. Remember, he did take down Jack Shanahan at the last round of competition he was at, so he's going in there with a lot of confidence. Let's see if the score
reflects that. Yeah, 50.1 for TJ Burney.
No one's setting the light just yet, Eddie. No one just stepping right up right now. So next up, a man that generally does end up in the business end of the championship or in one of these rounds is Nigel Colfer. He won the final round of the European Drift Masters GP Championship in Germany, so he's coming off some big wins this year. He definitely said that Mondello is a bit of a bogey track for him. He said that he's not sure at times. He's got a lot of podiums here, but he's never won it. Today could be different, but tough conditions here will mean all of his experience, that 8 or 9 years behind the wheel, is going to be, you can see that testing the rear grip on the run-up. Very clever initiation from Nigel Colfer.
Yeah, Nigel with a wealth of experience behind him does seem to struggle when it comes to Mondello at times, but this looking very good considering the conditions. Nice high line from Nigel Colfer as he switches back now. Can he run all along the wall? He certainly can, but just coming away from that first wall zone a little bit early, and it just cost his line ever so slightly.
I think that was a conservative run from Nigel Colfer, not taking too many chances there. Say, let's put a score on the board, let's make sure that we get into the game, and then we go for a broke on the second.
But you know what, Dave, for a conservative run, not bad. Tops qualifying so far with a 71. So yeah, scores starting to creep up ever so slightly now.
Plenty of speed from Nigel Colfer too, with 98 kilometers an hour on the speed gun. Next up, Barry Leonard, returning to action. Gearbox issues, seeing him out of competition for a while. So apparently Barry Leonard saying and reporting to the marshals he's only got first and second gear on the car. Gearbox issues again for Barry Leonard in the Team WKD Imports car, and I'm wondering, have they changed the diff in this car and maybe make it a long second gear? Let's see. He's really up against it now, Eddie.
Yeah, I mean, they hopefully have changed something just to allow him to be able to get around this circuit. Just a very slow entry.
Gets into that first corner, very tentative, just trying to keep the car moving. If it was staying wet, I think this would have suited Barry more with the lack of tools at his disposal, but still making it around the track. But you can hear him using the clutch quite a bit. Should get around the rest in second, I'd imagine. And as you can see, we can see the potential of what Barry's run could have been. That first corner in second isn't really going to work, Eddie.
No, certainly at a big disadvantage there, having to cut his speed down the straight. Drift speed there of 81 kilometers per hour, but you can see that he only really started to accelerate as he appeared over the brow of the hill, approaching that first clipping zone. So scores drop in for Barry Leonard, and all things considered, not a bad attempt. 50.4 on the board for him. And
yeah, I think he's going to struggle though if he does qualify with the twin battles, unless they get that time to switch something in. Next up, a man who's not struggling with power or gearbox issues is Paul Conlon, the mechanic from County Tyrone, representing Link Engine Management, Hell Performance, Stone Motorsport, Quince Coaches, Westlake Tires and CMPL. 700 horsepower, 2JZ under the bonnet. He's been there, done it all, but can he win Jaffa Fest? That's one thing he hasn't done. And a tentative entry again for Paul Conlon there.
Yeah, Paul representing, of course, Link Engine Management. and pulling it nicely together here. Nice wall run there, but again, just coming off that wall a little bit early, Dave. And it costs him on his line for the rest of the run.
It's a tentative nature of not wanting to mess up your first run that's actually causing a lot of this issue. And we see Paul Collins jump into 7th with a 53.5, wide of a couple of clipping zones. Now next up is a man very much in the chase for the Drift Super Series. He was the winner of round 4 of the Irish Drift Championship in this home-built BMW M3 with a supercharger. It's Paul McCarthy. We call him the Giant Killer because that's generally what he does. Goes out there and slays the bigger cars on the track. Patchy conditions will suit him, but it is drying fast for Paul McCarthy. And we wait for the smoke to clear from Paul Connon. And a good thing we're seeing a little bit of smoke on track now, Eddie, as Paul Connon leaves in a plume.
You can see it there, it's like a plough fog has just fallen onto the track, but it's the smoke of Paul Conlon. And
I was just noticing that we can see it from our live stream indication here that Jack Shannon in the queue for his championship runs, watching the live stream, checking out what everyone else is doing out there, trying to get an idea of the conditions. You'll see a lot of drivers joining in on that live stream to make sure they get a good view of what's going on, almost spotting for themselves. Paul McCarthy does leave the line, project engineer from Tipperary. And he's running 450 horsepower this year at a push. He won the 4th round with about 4 cylinders out of 6 working. Always up against it, but a very good line driver, and right now he's very used to this Mondello circuit as well, Eddie, so he's going to use that to his advantage. But I'm noticing how much mud has been dragged up onto that track. Even if you go on the correct line at clip 3, you're going to be dropping into the mud.
Yeah, very difficult to even see where that 3rd clipping zone is on the track at the moment as well, and Paul just getting a little out of shape through the final sections of the track. But
looks like just after that wall, it's very slippy there. It's a very, very slippy zone, and everyone's almost over-rotating.
There is 2 different levels of tarmac at that section of track as well, so it is changing levels of grip as they transition there. So Paul McCarthy, we await the judges' scores for him. Where is he going to land? And Paul McCarthy goes top with a 71.6. So 71.6 for Paul McCarthy as he goes top. 2 drivers now breaking into the 70s. But
starting to see those scores creep up.
Yeah, starting to see the scores creep up, and of course the drift speed creeping up as well as the track starts to dry out. We are seeing glimpses of blue skies in the distance as well, Dave, which is a sign of good things to come for the afternoon.
Absolutely, yes. Dennis Murphy now comes in wildly into that first corner. He's doing a tough job of holding this, and he does, but it's going to cost him that perfect line into clip 3. Well, Dennis Murphy just personifies wild on the track. He's one of the most entertaining drivers to watch on the grid. But entertaining doesn't mean he get good scores, and he's got to finish this run solidly, and a little sketchy on transition there as well.
Yeah, good and bad points to the run from Dennis Murphy.
Yeah, just touching the wheel over that inside zone, and I think it's a solid run, but it's not just that initiation was a little bit hit or miss, so I think he's going to drop the order a little bit.
Yeah, 53 there for Dennis Murphy. Good drift speed, however, through that first section, but just the error count too high, and judges penalised him suitably for that. So we move it on to our next driver on the line. It is Charlie Geary.
Yeah, and Charlie Geary, big game player. That's what he's all about, taking down the big names in a budget-built car, and he is a car part salesman from Cork, 290 horsepower under the bonnet, but man, can he make it work. And look at this initiation, bravest one we've seen today so far.
Yeah, Charlie Geary, he hasn't missed a round of competitive drifting action in IDC in over 6 years. He is here week in or week out, putting on a show. And he is really starting to make a name for himself in this pro class in that Clonakilty Kart Centre E36.
Yeah, solid run from Charlie Geary. He absolutely fires the cone back from where it came from. He puts a good score on the board. I think that's a solid run. A couple of clips missed, probably up towards the top end, the business end of it.
Yeah, jumps into 3rd position with a 70.5. So Charlie Geary came to play here this weekend.
Absolutely, and again, it's a very unnatural finish to the course. The driver saying it's tricky, and that's what the judges wanted. They said everyone's getting a little too used to this circuit. We want to make it as hard as possible.
Next on the line, though, is the head instructor at the Pro Drift Academy. It is Mike Fitzgerald. He's representing Drift Games Group D. He's running 2JZ 500 brake horsepower underneath the bonnet of this FC or X7. And you know what, Mike? We haven't seen the best from him this year, but he is coming here to the final round, Dave. He's putting it all on the line for this one last...
Yeah, and also reporting from our marshals that he may have a cracked hub on the front of the car after a collision, bent hub, at a collision with Charlie Geary in practice. So he says he's not sure if the car is 100%, not have the time or the parts to fix it, so he's going to throw this down. Team Drift Games, Group D performance, and they're going to throw this in, hit hope. Let's see what happens. Mike Fitz said he wants to win a Jaffest. He said winning Jaffest is almost as big as winning the championship, and he's definitely going to be going for it today. Big initiation through the first clipping zone. Nice so far. And right to the edge of the track. Very technical driver, Mike Fitz. When he gets on his game, he's very hard to shake him off it. And like that, very aggressive to the edge of Mobile 1. Oh! But has a gear change issue by the looks of it.
Yeah, and judging by the reaction of our judges,
he was on for a good one there.
Yeah, he was on for a really good score.
Oh, and almost comes into collision.
Precision spin there
and
off
takes
the wall.
the spoiler off the car.
Spoiler.
Very unusual finish to the run from Mike Fitzgerald, who loses the spoiler, seems to lose a gear, and loses the run of himself by spinning out.
Yeah, Mike won't be happy with himself after that. You know, an unforced error there, but again, just at the change of surfaces there, showing that the difference in grip levels is just catching out some of our drivers. So
yeah,
Mike
Joe
Fitzgerald
Doyle
spins in a 0. We move on. Joe Doyle,
Quinn's coach, and you know what? He was looking quietly confident this weekend. He said, "You know what? I'm only up from Pro-Am last year, but he's been, you know, in the mix all year." He said in Dunleary, he almost thought he could have it at the top step against Jack Shanahan.
But you know what, Dave? He has the car, he has the driver ability, and he has the attitude. And Joe Doyle.
Yeah, he
doesn't take himself too seriously.
No, but also
just nice and relaxed.
Yeah, but he's also built this car. He knows it inside out. He's built Kevin Quinn's car also. I think Joe Doyle is looking strong this weekend. I don't want to commentator's curse, but he seems just really relaxed. We were interviewing him earlier. It just seemed like he was enjoying the occasion. And that's what you got. You can't let the nerves get to you, but he's pushing very wide here on a spin, and I almost regret saying all of that at the start of the run because he was looking very aggressive. But as you can see here, just once you get out onto that dirt, Eddie, it is done. If that was dry now, you could probably get yourself back in, a little bit of grip, but look, just it buries in.
Yeah,
and all grip gone.
Kieran Hines saying you can see that just where the track ends, they put an extra little bit of concrete there. Kieran Hines saying you're better off just running the white line on the actual track and not going out onto that concrete because changes in grip there, and also that concrete only runs to about halfway around that corner, so it drops off. If you were to ride all along it, you would be dropping a wheel at that 5th clipping zone as well.
Yeah, that's a 0 on the board, so we're going to have a very and I mean, you can see it starting to brighten up here in Mondello a little bit. I think the track's going to dry very quickly now, which means I think the second half of qualifying could be dry, and that's going to mean we get a fair shot at it. But Mark McBurney's still going into patching conditions. Mark McBackwards, as we call him, man, throws a lot of angle into entries, but I think he's going to try and dial that back today with the conditions.
He certainly does, yeah. A bit more tentative and a bit more sensible here from the drift shed driver. And Mark McBurney doing a really good job. No problems for him around Mobile 1 as he fires the corner through that. Look how fast he is. A little bit of a wheel drop there, but as we said, judges not over penalising people. Oh, and a big collision with the tyres.
There seems to be an issue there. There seems to be very, very slippy on the track there just after that first wall. Something about the way the water is sitting or the way it's not drying as quick as the rest of the track. But it's definite to see that whatever's happening there, a lot of drivers being caught out in the tyre bale, saving Mark McBurney from further incidents.
So 3 drivers in a row scoring a 0, which means we are going to have a very interesting second half to qualifying with a lot of drivers jumping in and out of that top 32. And you are going to need to be on your A game to make it into the main show.
That means a lot of guys spinning out, which is, as I said, going to be the story, I think, of the first half of qualifying with the conditions that are there.
So next on the line is Gary Dunn. He's been competing for the past 5 years. He's qualified for every event that he's competed in over the last 2 years. He's running an SR20, 560 brake horsepower, TDB Lockheed, Motec M1 ECU. He's from County Kildare, and he is ready to leave the line, representing Boss Motorsport.
Yeah, very steady driver, Eddie, and he's a guy that keeps his cool in situations like this, just from down the road. He knows this Mondello circuit very well, and he's just testing it on that. Oh, he's coming in very hot here. Will he be able to hold it? And you know what, he is.
Yeah, certainly can, but just about getting out to that 3rd clipping zone.
Car seemed to hesitate a little bit there.
It did, yeah, and it cost him his line as he came through Mobile 1. Now he switches back and throws it down onto the wall. Again, it just doesn't seem to be the grip there for the drivers to make that final wall clipping zone properly.
I think the story is that in some areas there is grip, and they're using that as a reference point to say, yeah, it's dry, cool, and then when they get to those wet patches, it just goes wrong fast.
So Gary Dunn puts a score on the board. Judges are rewarding him with a 57.9 for his troubles.
Yeah, 57.9, and now it is going to be Anthony Galvin on the line.
Yes.
Returning after just getting married. He missed Watergrass Hill for one of the most genuine reasons someone's missed around. He was on his honeymoon.
Yes, and he said to me he'd gladly missed a second, but the honeymoon was that good. He enjoyed it that much. So
I'd nearly have gone on Anthony Galvin's honeymoon to avoid the rain in Watergrass Hill. But Anthony Galvin throws it into the first quarter, 2 JZ, 540 horsepower, very aggressive, right out to the edge of the circuit there. As you can see, clipping points almost washed away at this point with the early rain that was here this morning. Track will be repainted before top 32, but visual reference is now not as easy for the drivers.
yeah, Anthony's saying he's not in contention for that championship anymore after missing that round in Watergrass Hill, so he's coming here to have a little bit of fun and just try and mix things up a little bit for the guys that are in the hunt for the championship. So a little bit of pressure off him, but he has really shone this year and showed us what he's capable of. He jumps into 4th position with a 69, so 69 for Anthony Galvin. Nice starting run for him as we move on to the only dealt with driver in our pro category this weekend. It is Brian Egan representing Dealt With and Westlake Tires.
Sitting 7th in the championship at the moment. Top 5 finish up for grabs for him. He's been in the top 5 of the IDC championship for the last 4 years, so he's going to have to do some work today. Says he's confident in the car. Had a clutch issue all weekend, turned out to be a gearbox issue. He said he's still not too sure if the car is actually working correctly, but he's going to have to be another driver throwing the dice here.
Yeah, nice entry there from Brian. Didn't get as far out to that 3rd clipping zone as he possibly would have liked. But you'd see now, Dave, with the amount of smoke being created by the rear wheels, that the track conditions certainly starting to dry now. Brian throws it down onto that wall. That spoiler, the perfect height just to ride all the way along those concrete blocks. And Brian Egan doing a nice job getting it around the circuit and over the line. Will he contend for top spot here? Paul McCarthy's currently sitting in that top spot with a 71. Brian Egan goes 3rd with a 70.75. So nice starting point there for Brian as he completes his first pass of the circuit.
Yeah, impressive run, especially now it's starting to dry up. We are going to see the scores come up. And a man that definitely wanted to see it dry is the man all the way from Australia.
The Thunder from down under.
He shipped his engine all the way from Australia before him, bought a car here, put the two together, tested it all year, and the Thunder from down under, Mitch Larner, is now going to take to the track. He said he came here with one thought on his mind, taking down 14 years of Irish history. And after practice, I am not going to disagree with that claim.
He has got better and better each outing this season, and he's getting more comfortable with the car. And look at this for a line from Mitch Larner, nailing it so far. And Mitch, throws in massive angle and manages to hold it. The judges go wild. I'm not sure the score is going to be.
I'm not even sure what happened right there. What was that? He went on over 90 degrees along the wall and actually held it. So, you know, if there ever was an advertisement for Wisefab on the front of a car, I think that definitely is it.
Well, Dave, look at this. Judges loving that one. Mitch Larner goes top with an 80.3.
Look at the angle. He's over 90 degrees coming in front of the wall. You think he's over-rotated. He holds it, and then bang, he's on the line again. Impressive stuff.
I think it's safe to say more angle than Pythagoras.
That is a safe statement. He is the 2016 D1 Western Australia champion. He is here for blood this weekend, and he goes top so far. First driver to break into the 80s. Now, this is a story on the line that you just can't write. Man blows an engine up after 3 laps on Friday, and here he sits on the line with a brand new engine bought yesterday morning, rebuilt. Not just an engine, I mean a custom, fully built engine built yesterday, dynoed, back here, and here he is. He is the Northern Smoke Machine 2-time IDC champion. It is Dwayne McKeever, and I am absolutely, I can't even believe he's on the line right now. I actually, from watching the reaction of Dwayne, heartbroken on Friday. Richard Bradley, take a bow because he is back.
I can believe it, Dave, because it happens practically every round. Poor Richard Bradley never gets a minute's peace with Dwayne McKeever. A hard man on a car, but he is charging hard here this weekend. Not a perfect line here from Dwayne McKeever, though.
No, I think he was expecting it to wash a little bit more than it has, and you can see that it actually, from where we're standing, ties the wall pretty aggressively as he finishes the run. And from my perspective, Dwayne McKeever, just the first 3 clipping zones weighed so heavily by the judges, that's going to hurt him.
Yeah, certainly does. Dwayne McKeever down the order in 9th position with a 66. So a man hoping for a good turn of form here this weekend is Pete Nielsen, currently sitting tied 4th in the championship, and a good result here, Dave, could see him finish in the top 3, and what a story that would be for a driver with a very basic 370 odd brake horsepower.
This car has the same turbo on it for, I think he said, 10 years. 10 years has the same turbo on the car. And I'm not sure Pete Nielsen even knows what a turbo does.
Yeah, I think he sold this turbo originally to, I forget the name,
Gavin Lennon?
Gavin Lennon.
That's the one. Gavin Lennon, original of the car, was sold to Pete Nielsen. And look at this entry for Pete Nielsen. I think he's watched a little boy, but he does make clip too. Pete Nielsen, this car, I actually drove it recently on the set of a film we were helping out with in Dublin, and it actually drives very nice. It's almost like a road car. So to be out here in the pro class, holding it with the big boys, representing Team Drift Games, Boost Design, Mobile 1, for both seats, doing a nice job. Pete Nielsen, of course, those couple of years in the judging seat, definitely helping him knowing what the judges are looking for. And right now he puts a solid score on the board. Pete Nielsen looking pretty good. He's also a former contestant on The Apprentice as well. Just he likes that I remind everybody of that.
He didn't win though.
He lost poorly. So let's see where he lands in.
Losing poorly so far, 14th position with a 55. So Pete Nielsen's going to need to step his game up just a little bit.
Next up, a man that does step his game up when it comes to Jaffest is Shane O'Sullivan, a man who's got over 20 podiums in the Irish Drift Championship and has never won a round. He is also an ex-British Drift champion, all the way from Galway, which is unusual because people come from Australia, you can't say all the way from Galway, but he is all the way from Galway. It's a long road, the N4. But he is driving the Jaf Speed S15, switching from an RB25 to a 2JZ, and a very straight line through the first corner for Shane O'Sullivan, dipping a wheel into the mud. A little bit sketchy so far from Shane O'Sullivan, usually so consistent here.
Yeah, the Jaf Speed driver just getting it wrong on entry, and that will really hurt his score, but finishing it off in style here. Nice wall run. And that's the Shane O'Sullivan that we're accustomed to seeing. This one certainly won't set the scoreboard alight, but he will be back for the second run, and don't be surprised to see him contending for the top spot when he returns for his second run.
Yeah,
but Shane O'Sullivan,
track driving very fast as well, Eddie, I'm noticing.
It really is. Shane O'Sullivan drops into 11th position there now with a 62.
62 for Shane O'Sullivan, and the next driver on the line has mathematically got to hope that Jack Shanahan goes out in the top 32 and win the event to win the championship this year. It is Tomas Kiley, who is still in school as he is just 17 years of age, 850 horsepower 2JZ. Brings always a highlight reel at Jaffest every year. Will he do it again as Tomas Kiley, representing Achilles Radial Track Day Performance, D&M Sport, and as he throws into that first corner, very aggressive. Full confidence now in the conditions out there.
Yeah, and on his day, as good as it gets is Tomas Kiley. Can he take home his first ever championship win? Well, it all really relies on the result that Jack Shanahan puts in, but look at this so far. Kiley sends up the smoke signals and crosses the line. Guys, put your hands together.
Yeah. I mean, the applause from the crowd tells the story there. That's the first guy to go out there and just absolutely smash the course after Mitch Larner. And again, he actually goes into a tied first position with Mitch Larner as Tomas Kiley. Oh, sorry, not even tied. He goes way higher. Tomas Kiley gets an 88.3 on his first run. Wow. He is way out ahead. Look at this wall run on the replay, just hanging that car on that concrete wall. And if you look at who's on the line next, well, that's the message being sent, that it's not over yet, Mr. Shanahan, as Jack Shanahan sits on the line. Now remember, Jack Shanahan qualifies top 4 today automatically before we even go to a battle. He is the 2017 IDC champion.
Yeah, I think Jack's going to want to get this done on the first run. I don't think this is going to be a safe one, Dave. I'd say he's going to just put this right to the limits and try and go top. He'll be looking to break into the 90s on his first run. Here we go. Down the stretch comes Jack Shanahan. 2JZ, 700 brake horsepower.
Solid so far, right to the clips. He's going to put in a very technical run, I imagine, here to make sure that he gets that top spot. Tomas Kiley put an 88 on the board. Can Shanahan go higher? Championship is on the line right now. Every movement of the steering wheel, every touch of the accelerator is a whole year's worth of work on the line. Can he get it there? And indeed he does, as he's done all year. Put in a huge run.
Shanahan showing nerves of steel there, especially with how the championship ended for him this time last year. But look at this. Jack Shanahan goes top with an 88.75. Jack Shanahan jumps into first position and relieves some of that pressure, Dave.
But remember, there is a whole host of runs to go yet, so we could see things go higher. Now we move on to our Drift Super Series drivers, the drivers that are coming as international guests for this event. They are competing in the Drift Super Series. Also, Remember, Shanahan also competing for the Drift Super Series this weekend, so even if he wins the IDC, he's still got to do more work for that Super Series. But next up is Bagsy, all the way from the UK. He just had one of the most successful viral video hits this year in his new GTR, but he's back in his turbo-powered V6 350Z engine, PS13, representing Aecon Insurance, Monster Energy, and Westlake Tire. And Bagsy said Mondello just seems a bogey track for him. Something always goes wrong. We said this weekend he's taking down a streak, he's taking down the Irish, and he's doing what he did last year. He's trying to take down James Dean and Jack Shanahan. And look at this, Bagsy putting in a very good run so far, smoking up those Westlake Tires as he transitions snappy towards the finish of this course. Nice work there.
Yeah, nice to see Bagsy not having any mechanical difficulties. We want to see him battle it out, see can he go top and take it all the way to the top step of the podium. Well, the score drops in for his qualifying run. Nicely positioned after that. 5th position for him with a 71. So a good start to qualifying for Steve Biagioni.
Yep.
He will be looking to improve on that, but first part of the job completed for him.
Good solid run from Bagsy. Puts himself into the top 5. Next up, it's time to say bonjour for the first time today to the Frenchman, Jérôme Vassia. He is the organizer of the French Drift Championship, the Championnat de France. I've been working on that.
Yeah, you have a fantastic French accent.
Yeah, you know, got a bit of French blood in me. Probably 700 years ago. But anyway.
Jim LaBouche.
Oh, wow. Okay, let's forget we talked about that at all. Okay, Jérôme is driving Chris Brady's SR20 powered 86 Corolla, and he said he's having a little bit of trouble with it. Obviously, Jérôme naturally driving a left-hand drive car. Also naturally driving...
Big correction there from him after entry. So this just not looking comfortable for Jérôme. He was going well in practice this morning, flying that French flag here this weekend. But it looks like he's going to have it all to do on the second half of qualifying, Dave.
Yeah, well, he was saying that he has a massive respect now for Chris Brady after driving this car, because he said for such a small car and a short wheelbase to have that much grip running 18-inch Westlakes, he said it's very difficult.
Yeah, Jérôme Vassia scoring well down. A 21.6 for him sees him in 28th position.
So there you have it, a score on the board. Next up, it is the UK driver. It is Adam Simmons representing Slide Motorsport. Adam Simmons running 2JZ over 500 horsepower in this car. He's had this car in competition for probably 5, 6, 7, even more years now at this stage. It's had a lot of hits, but it's like a good band that just keeps on playing, right? So here we are, Adam Simmons throws it into the first corner. Nice, I clip one, and the sun actually started to shine a little bit there.
Yeah, track temperatures starting to increase, so we should have a fully dry track in just a few more runs time, but Adam Simmons now doing a really good job so far. A crazy man with a few drinks inside him, but one of the nicest guys on the pit when he's sober.
That is for sure. His partying reputation almost precedes his drifting part.
The slide guys said to me this morning, 90% of the time they're really nice. It's just that 10% you kind of got to, watch yourselves around.
Yeah, but he puts a good solid run on the board. Adam Simmons, always fun to be around in the paddock, and make sure you check those cars out later on. Those Slide Motorsport cars, incredible. He jumps into 15th with a 61.5 on the board. Our next car almost broke a dyno during the week, because when they managed to get some readings from it, it was 740 horsepower naturally aspirated. However, Danny Neville, who's behind the wheel of this car, this is not his car. This is actually belonging to Khalifa Al Nahyan, member of the royal family from Abu Dhabi. He is not here this weekend, but he has lent his car to his good friend and international DJ Danny Neville. Danny has played a world tour and finishes his world tour by trying to compete in a drift event in Ireland. That is a real thing that's happening, but it's about to happen right now. So he said the car is an absolute handful. He says he's in 3rd gear before he comes out of the chicane. So let's see how he gets on. Of course, the guys from the Middle East saying they're struggling a little bit when it's wet, dry conditions, not something they're accustomed to, as they have about an hour of rain a year in the Middle East. We have it an hour a day, so that's how it works over here. But doing a nice job so far.
Yeah, Danny doing a really good job so far, just getting a little bit wide there as he transitions through the midsection of the circuit, but gets it safely across the finish line. And one of the better runs that we've seen from Danny Neville this weekend, just starting to come together for him at the right time.
Yeah, crowd liking that. It's an LSX engine in that, a huge twin throttle monster. Let's see where he drops in.
So Danny Neville jumps into 16th position with a 61, so good start to qualifying for Danny Neville.
Next up we have got Leonard Keppert, 25 years of age. He's from Romania, actually owns a chain of grocery stores in Romania. That's a real job that someone has in drifting here, and he's all the way from, he's currently living in the UK, representing IROC Performance. He's 6'7" as well, so he can...
almost as tall as me.
Yeah, almost as tall as you, Eddie, but he can almost challenge James Dean to a stare-off, and that's part of the battle. So Leonard Keppert, this is an S54 turbo. It only has 800 horsepower, so he's a little down on horsepower.
Yeah, he might struggle to get the car around the track.
Yeah, 800 horsepower. This car originally built by Andreas Vasiliauskas, who you would have seen. You can see our media guy Josh Holdsworth there. He's ready for qualifying in the lowest horsepower car at the grid, our smart car. And it is going to be back to Leonard Keppert on the line. Leonard struggling a bit with the car. He said the car is just such a handful. He's a very accomplished driver. But he said the car is just so crazy. He's just trying to get his head around it. But let's see how he gets on here in his first run of qualifying.
Yeah, nice fast entry from Leonard here, but just not able to hold it with the changing levels and grip, and a big straighten for him.
On a wrong line here. So it seemed like an issue with the car. That could be a little bit more sinister than it looked originally, but the car looks very slow, Eddie. Looks like it's a half shaft. It's spinning one wheel. He's spinning one wheel. You can actually hear it, and it is broke a half shaft on initiation. And what a terrible way to start your qualifying session.
Yeah, certainly not ideal for Leonard, and unfortunately...
Well, 800 horsepower, and he will break a lot of things.
It certainly
definitely
will.
broke the half shaft there instantaneously on that car. So he's got to get that fixed. I'm sure if you have 800 horsepower, you've got about 800 half shafts with you at an event.
So Sultan Al-Qasimi has decided that he will take to the stage for qualifying. Very little practice, Dave. He just...
Didn't want to practice in the wet. He just said he was going to hope that it was drive-by qualifying. This is an incredible car. Every single panel, bar the roof on this car, is full carbon fibre. Carbon fibre dash, carbon fibre bonnet, boot lid, windows, doors. Well, not windows, obviously, but you know, you get the picture. A lot of carbon fibre. Also running an LSX crate motor, pretty similar to what you would buy for a NASCAR. Under the bonnet, makes about 650 horsepower on a very, they said it was actually a very tentative map. It runs 650 horsepower, 650 newton meters of torque. Fully brand new built car, and this thing is insane. But Sultan says again, it's a handful. Likes the dry weather, doesn't like the patchy weather. Let's see how he gets on here.
Nice fast entry here from Sultan so far, keeping it nice and tight to that second clipping zone, but doesn't get the wide line out the tree. Missing that now, starts to put the foot down as he comes by Mobile 1, but runs ever so slightly wide and kicking up a little bit of dirt there is Sultan now. How can he do it? Oh, big angle as he throws it down onto the wall. Can he keep this going? Puts the shoe in. Big error there from Sultan, but does keep the run alive.
Yeah, a
and
little bit
gets
wayward though.
Himself over the finish line.
Yeah, Sultan, who was originally from Sharjah, now living in Abu Dhabi.
Gets a score from the judges, a 51.5 from him, sees him down in 25th position.
Yep, now if you talk about horsepower and machinery, it's hard to make this thing look any more ridiculous than the horsepower figures I put out.
Yeah, this is a
If you're a fan, 715 horsepower 86 Corolla.
Yeah, 7.4 litre LSX engine underneath the bonnet of this.
The car originally comes with 140 horsepower. It now has 715 horsepower. It originally comes with a 1.6. It now has a 7.4 litre engine. And he is one of the, probably the guys who originated drifting in the UK. He is currently the owner, or always been the owner. He's currently the owner of Driftworks, very, very famous company that has brought incredible parts to a lot of the guys on the grids. And Phil Morrison coming in hot, Eddie.
Yeah, look how fast this looks. If you take your eyes off the screen and watch it in real time, Dave, that was so quick there by Phil Morrison as he sends up the smoke screen, foot to the floor, and this thing is an absolute antichrist. Big dive down onto the wall from Phil Morrison, and this one looking good, Dave. Could this go top? We wait and see, but the Driftworks boss came to play here this weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for Phil Morrison.
I asked Phil earlier on, he says the car has now stopped killing itself and it's just back to trying to kill him. So he said he's happier with that. So let's see how he scores.
Well, he jumps into third position with an 84. Phil Morrison goes third with an 84.
And there you have it. Look at that. Jack Shannon standing out his car talking to Dwayne McKeever, Shane O'Sullivan, the guys sitting right up there in the championship and discussing tactics, I'm sure, but probably discussing the after party tonight just as equally. So we're back to the line. Another UK driver ready to go. It is going to be Matt Stevenson. He is the boss man from Slide Motorsport from West Yorkshire.
West Yorkshire.
Competition clutch tri-ace tyres, Link ECU, Yellow Speed Racing. Running an LS3 V8 under the bonnet of this E92 BMW, 430 horsepower. And he took the entire rear end of this car off at Birmingham earlier in the year, and then he did it again in the same event. So now it is a full clamshell rear end on this car because, as Matt would also say, he just can't have nice things. So he's made the car that it's almost bulletproof. He is on the line, he says, suffering of brake issues in practice, the brakes locking on the car. So team were under the car for a long time there. So let's see how he gets on. Loves it here in Ireland. He says he loves the drifting and, more importantly, the partying. So he's got to get through the drifting to get to the partying. So this is the drifting bit. Let's see how he gets on. Nice run through the first corner. Confidence starting to build across the grid here, Eddie, as they are feeling those grip levels rise.
Yeah, certainly a good time to be coming out for qualifying as the track does start to dry up, and Matt Stevenson doing a really nice job so far, looking very steady out there. nice run down onto the wall, getting very wide, but again, just see a little bit of a stutter as the change in grip with that changing of tarmac section on the track. But Matt Stevenson doing a really, really good job. Expect to see that score up the order.
Yeah, not a bad run for Matt Stevenson. He'll drop, I think, somewhere in the mid-pack.
Well, 21st, judges seeing some mistakes there, and a 55 for Matt Stevenson.
Next up on the line, we have got the man who's been wowing crowds across the UK. He is best known for crashing into Irish drivers. It is the UK driver, Oliver Evans.
And you know what, Dave? He's got a bit of a target on his back here.
He
this
does,
weekend,
and you know what?
He likes to run his mouth just a little bit as well.
He does. He's from Wales. He's running 2JZ, 450 horsepower, sponsored by Washloo. If you don't know what Washloo is, I advise you to Google it because you'll be entertained as to know what it is. But it is going to be his third time in the IDC this year, third event. And he also was having a little bit of fun yesterday, he said, pushing James Dean around the track. So he's coming in here very confident. He's coming in here as a newcomer. He's an unknown entity, and he's looked very strong across both championships.
You know what, Dave, with that line, why not be confident? Because he is setting this Mondello circuit alight right now. Can he finish this off in style? He certainly can as he rides down onto the wall. Oliver Evans came to play. Could this be the best run of the day so far? Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Oliver Evans.
That's a big run from Oliver Evans and a statement of intent, Eddie, as from my perspective. He said he said James Dean who? He said Jack Shanahan who? Dwayne McKeever who? Expect him to be going door to door later on today. I think that's a big run, but where will it land him? It lands him into 4th position with an 83.4. We're only halfway through qualifying, Eddie, and they're already getting heated here. Next on the line is the man that finished up in the business end of the British Drift Championship this year. He's no stranger to the Mondello Park circuit, but he is in this R32 from Driftworks. It's Martin Richards, the owner of Richards Racing in Worcester. He is one of the guys out there that is sort of always in the mix, top 8. He's a 600 horsepower 1JZ under the bonnet of this. Very consistent driver, huge experience across Europe. Really nice guy to get on with too. And he comes to Ireland and says, you know what? He said, I haven't got high enough in the grid in Ireland in a while. Today is the day. Let's see how he gets on in this first run.
Yeah, doing a good job here. Martin Richards now throws this R32 down onto the wall, and you can just see, Dave, the grip levels really starting to increase. And these drivers starting to put in big runs here.
Yeah, those small patches of water starting to clear up as every run goes in. The mud's starting to not be as effective to the grip.
Big first run there from Martin Richards sees him into 6th position with a 77. So 4 drivers remaining. Matt Carter will be the first of those.
And just to let you know, also 4 drivers in the top 6 at the moment from outside Ireland. So Shanahan first, Kiley second, but then Morrison, Evans, Larner and Richards all sitting in the top 6. So that's impressive. And man who definitely will want to be sitting in the top 6 is the current British Drift champion. It is Matt Carter, running over 600 horsepower in the Team Jaf Speed Maxxis tyres R32. Carter clinched the championship last weekend. He said he's coming over to Ireland for the big one, and he said, I'm going to take everybody down. Simple as.
There's nothing like the confidence from winning a championship, and Carter, look at the entry, Dave. Such confidence in those Maxxis tyres. Throws it through the first corner.
Oh, they've been aggressive here, Eddie, and he might cost him, and it will.
It will cost him.
Carter puts 4 wheels off circuit, and I think that was a test of how much grip is there. Not quite enough. Put on the angle to try and slow the car down, but watch those 2 rear wheels. Once they hit that slippier outer edge of the concrete, everybody's going off there in qualifying. So, you know what? He'll regret it. He'll take a little bit of experience from it, and he has got one more shot in the second half of qualifying to try and make the grid, but right now sitting way outside the order.
So we have only 3 drivers left, Dave, and 3 returning drivers, Formula Drift competitors. Dean Carney, the first of those. This car, of course, took to the circuit of the Festival of Speed.
Yeah, and actually all the 3 drivers at the Festival Speed this year, but Dean Carney currently driving a Dodge Viper in the Formula Drift Championship, has many podiums for the Formula Drift Championship this year, even in Road Atlanta, taking 2nd position, representing the Irish across the water in probably the most competitive championship in the world. He's back in what they call the JZX demo car to try and put it on here at Jaf Fest, and he couldn't miss this event. Threw the car together, only mapped late Thursday. He said a turbo and engine, not 100%, but he's going to give it a go, and he said it's a big car to get around such a technical circuit.
Yeah, and Dean doing a nice job so far. Technically not a 100% perfect, a little bit off the line as he came by Mobile 1, but tagging that rear bumper on the wall, and a nice finish to the run from Dean Carney. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the returning Dean Carney.
It's probably the coolest way anyone's ever opened the boot of their car ever, right? On a concrete wall at 50 miles an hour. So Dean Carney putting a score on the board.
Yeah, drops into 17th position, so mid-pack with a 63.5. Room for improvement there from Dean Carney, but as you say, that car not 100%. Peter Vincek now on the line in the DMAC 240. Interestingly enough, Dave, they noticed only just this morning that there was damage to the subframe from the crash that Robbie Nishida had with this car, and it's transformed the car dramatically.
Yeah, they said that I mean, this car has been, you know, it's the town bike, really. It's been driven by Forrest Wang, Matt Powers, it's been driven by Chris Forsberg, but you know what? A lot of guys, including Dario Shahar and stuff, have said it's a very good car, it just takes some time getting used to it. The big advantage is it's left-hand drive, because Peter Viancek obviously used to left-hand drive. He is one of the best drivers in Europe. He's probably more than likely going to take home Formula Drift Rookie of the Year this year, as teammates with James Dean. And he's coming back here and he said, nobody has beaten the Irish in 14 years. Well, if I could do that today, then I'm in the history books. And right now, he looks strong in practice.
And of course, he has beaten James Dean in the past, so he will be not one bit phased. And nice, fast entry here from Peter Vincek. This looking really strong so far. Can he keep this going? Shoe in as he comes around by Mobile 1. Peter Vincek laying down a statement of intent here, Dave. What about this for a run from the Polish driver? Mondello makes some noise for Peter Vincek.
I think that might be up there. That might even be top. That was incredible. Let's see where he drops in. Shanahan at an 88.7. Peter Viancek scores a 91.7. Viancek goes top, and you can see the reaction from his fellow drivers that man has just put in a 91.7 in a borrowed car, and his speed was 4 kilometers faster through the drift zone than any driver on the grid in qualifying. That is impressive, Eddie, and he goes top.
He certainly does, and very worthy. Only one man left to take to the circuit for his first run, but that man, of course, is more than capable of going top. He's more than capable of putting in a score of 100, the perfect run. It is the returning James Dean, your current Formula Drift Championship points leader going into the final round. What can he do here on his return to Mondello Park for Japfest?
Yeah, at the moment James Dean sits, if he qualifies at the last round of the Formula Drift Championship, he will have broken every record in FD and won the championship in his first full season. But he's got to come here to Mondello to keep his record intact here also, as he puts in a very solid first run, Eddie, and as expected, James Dean is back and he means business. Yeah, James Dean, no stranger to this circuit, knows it inside out from years of competing on it and winning on it and just nailing it so far. 2 massive runs here from Peter Vincek and James Dean. Can James Dean go top? He needs to beat a 91.75. Wow. You know what? And
things have just heated up a little bit,
There's a
Dave.
small bit of rivalry between Viancek and James Dean that as teammates they came here this weekend and they did want to go. So Peter Viancek had a 91.7. James Dean scores a 91.4 into second position for James Dean. And Jack Shanahan jumps back to third. Remember, he needs a top 4. And what is going to happen next? Because we have 90s on the board in the first half. And Kieran, just talk us through that first half of qualifying. It's some insane runs coming in there towards the end.
Yeah, obviously very difficult conditions. Yeah, the only point I want to make here is we have to set a target speed during practice. And practice was slightly damp. It was drying up. Our target speeds were set and were all down in the mid 80s, and we had to estimate how much the track was going to dry out during the qualifying session, but as it's happened, it's dried out faster than we thought. So our target speed is set at 90 kilometers an hour, and for every kilometer above the target speed you get 0.25 of a kilometer, quarter of a point. So what's happening here now is we gave a score of, let's say, 90 at starting to pick up 5 points from the speed because of the target speed set. Now it's the same for everybody, so you know it's fair enough. But there is actually a possibility of somebody going over 100 today, because if we gave a 95 and someone picked up 5 or 6 points, it is possible for the score to go over 100. So yeah, we might have to lie and just say that was 100.
Okay, so 100 is as good as you can get. But the big difference here, and I'm just looking at this, Eddie, was there was 16 kilometers an hour in difference between James Dean and Peter Geinsek. Peter Geinsek was 16 kilometers an hour faster than James Dean through clip 2. That's a telling story.
Yeah, and a lot of people saying James Dean looking a little bit slow around here. Technically very correct, but looking a little bit slower in the track.
But with the judges, he scored higher, but with the speed, Peter scored higher. So that's where the speed's coming into effect here. So very interesting to note. For me, I mean, look, we've got half the qualifying session out of the way. Shanahan sits in third at the moment, but he needs a top 4 to guarantee the championship. He's got Geinsek and Dean and Kylie and all these guys out there. Big story for me, however, is there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 drivers in the top 10 that are not Irish, and 4 are Irish. That's a telling story about the streak later on as well.
It really is, and you know, the more drivers, international guests that we have in that top 32 and making it into the top 16, you know, it really increases the likelihood that we could see the streak being beaten today.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to move on to the second half of qualifying now. You can see the crowd starting to roll into Mondello Park. Top 32 is going to be insane.
That is only one half of the paddock of the number of show cars we have here. We have another section of the paddock down further, and it's just packed with cars as well. Some incredible show cars down in our paddock here today. So
yeah, I mean, I really do think the best in the business are here today, and I think if someone's going to win this one outright by the end of today, it'll be just a story to tell for a couple of years to come, because everybody is on it. Now the track is fully dry, we're going to see the best of everybody, and now we're also going to need to see the best from Ryan Morton. He is under pressure. This is only his second lap in this car. His first lap, not quite the best. He sits way down the order.
Yeah, it was a 52, so it has him sitting in 30th position at the moment, which is right on the drop zone. And when you look at the number of drivers who have to complete their second run already on a 0, so they'll be coming out really pushing hard to try and get into the game.
I mean, you're looking at a lot of big names on 0s after the first run.
Bit of a stall there from Ryan on the start line, but gets it going. Now, can he improve that score? We know he has the ability to do it, but we have, as we've said, this is not his car. He's done one lap in this car and just
sacrificed 2, but got to 3, Eddie. Different approach.
Yeah, needs to keep it tidy here from here on in if he wants to start picking up those points. Just hear him feathering the throttle now as he switches back and throws it down onto the wall. Nice line there from Ryan Morton. As you say, Dave, not ideal having to borrow a car coming into your...
No, but I mean, you're borrowing a car with, you know, a 2JZ. You're not borrowing a very slow car, but I think that's a better run than the first one.
It certainly is. A 64 on the board from Ryan Morton, missing that second zone, but very technically correct for the rest of the run, and into 19th position for him, so well up the order, and we could see him in our top 32 at close of business this afternoon.
Yeah, next up, a man who, I say a man, a boy even, 15 years of age in a Sierra. Jordan Boyce wowed us all through IADC, wowed us this year through Pro-Am, even in the British Drift Championship, but right now he heads to the circuit to try and put a run in to get him into the biggest event of the year.
Yeah, 60 on his first run. He'll be looking to improve on that, sits in 24th position. Look at that for a line, Dave. This guy is really starting to show his ability. Every time he comes out on the track, he's just getting better and better, and Jordan Boyce nailing it so far. A little bit shy of that first wall zone, but nice and wide through the final sections of the track in the PowerMax Engineering Ford Sierra. You can just see how battered and bruised the rear end of that car is from taking hits all weekend. Jordan Boyce, can he improve on the score? He certainly can. He goes 14th with a 70.08.
Wow, top 16 in a Sierra. Forward. And it's funny to think that, you know, 10 years ago when people had Sierras, that, you know, it's come so far, and here we are again. Top 16 in qualifying of Pro at the biggest event of the year. There's a Sierra. Now next up on the line we have got Conor Shanahan. Conor Shanahan putting in a solid first run on sketchy
69
conditions.
Down in 17th position, so mid-pack he'd be looking to really up the game here.
I think he's going to go for this one. I think he's going to try and top qualifying. He's got the confidence, he's in bonus time, he's already got the Pro-Am Championship in the bag.
And he has that Super Series Championship to contend for as well this afternoon, so all to play for here for Shanahan. As he fires it through, big angle through that first corner, just going a little bit wide of that second clipping zone though. Now he needs to be perfect from here on in if he wants to contend for that top spot. Foot to floor here from Shanahan.
A little tentative as he now makes his way back to it. Look at this, right up onto those walls. Going in very hot here, tags it very heavy, and it straightens the car out. That's going to hurt his score. He tried that on the first run, a little bit too much on the second, and that wall is a very unusual wall run. You've kind of got to keep your momentum, keep your wide line, and as you can see here, it cuts the corner. They want drivers, they suggest it to be right out on the extra white line there on the edge of the circuit to make it a smoother run on the wall. Cut across, this is what happens. You almost come to a dead stop, and lucky nothing in the back of that car is too solid because it all shredded away, but it's going to hurt Shanahan's score and leave him where he is in 17th position.
So Conor Shanahan should be safe with that first score that he put on the board, but he could see himself down the order a bit, Dave, with a harder run through to the finals. So
yeah, next up, Alan McCord, the driver who shut it down, well, not shut it down, but had an interesting first run, not exactly what he wants, 49 on the board. Not a lot of seat time this year, and he's going to have to put it back here and use all that experience he has.
yeah, returning for the final round here, but as I say, first time we've seen him this year, and just showing those rusty cobwebs from lack of competitive action. With this looking like a much tidier run.
Car shuts
just
down.
as I say, car shuts down on him as he comes by Mobile 1, and
that is definitely, sounds like a half shaft or a gearbox. Definitely a rattle. It's a diff, a gearbox, or a shaft, because a very bad rattle from the back of Alan McCord's car. That's what happens when you try and push, 800 newton meters of torque through the back end of the car. Something might give, and it looks for Alan McCord like he is definitely rattling off the circuit, and also rattling out of the competition, Eddie, as he will not put a score on the board, meaning he is exiting the competition, and our first casualty.
yeah, the first casualty of the weekend, and another man who could potentially be a casualty will be Adam Nagy, who now takes to the circuit. He's on a 0, Dave, if you remember from his first run. This car just didn't look like it was performing correctly for him, and it looks as though Alan McCord may need recovery here.
Yeah, Alan McCord's car just rattling to a stop towards the finish line, and it's an unfortunate way to end a day, because you obviously want driver error or your own talent to be the deciding factor, not the car. And as you can see, Phil Morrison and the Driftworks crew running over to give him a hand to try and get that car off the track. And we've got Ian Waddington down there, and I'm sure Ian will be able to have a word with Alan McCord and see exactly what went wrong with that car. This is behind the scenes, which is what we try and do, get you in behind the scenes. So let's see if we get down to Ian and see what's going on.
Dave, I'm down here with Alan. Alan, what happened, dude?
I honestly don't know. I think the prop shaft has come off.
First good qualifying run, do you reckon it's enough to get you in top 32?
I don't. I was sort of trying to see if one at the start. I'm going to give it everything in that one, but that's what happened.
Unfortunate end to your weekend, dude. Good to see you back. Back to you, Dave.
Guys, round of applause for Alan McCord. Unfortunately, very heartbroken not to make it into the top 32. Give him a round of applause. These guys put a lot of effort and work into these cars, and unfortunately, it doesn't all work out on the day. You need a horse and a jockey to get across the finish line, Eddie, and it looks like he is going to be dragging the horse home with him.
Yes, dragging the horse back to the stable, but he'll be back next year, and when it's hard to come to a competitive event, and when you have that lack of seat time as Alan's had, one thing can go wrong very quickly for you, and that's the end of his weekend. So you can just see those guys struggling to get this car.
It's like a prop shaft failure maybe on the car, and a lot of these cars, obviously with these engines, will obviously run so our marshal's saying the car's actually locked solid on the back of the car. It's actually not moving whatsoever, even under being towed. So obviously a very sinister problem there with Alan McCord's car. But while we have a moment, Eddie, and we mightn't have too many of them today, what about that? I mean, Viansek first, Dean second, Shanahan third, Kiley fourth, Morrison fifth, Evans sixth, seventh for Mitch Larner, eighth for Martin Richards, ninth for Paul McCarthy, and 10th for Steve Baggsy Biagioni. Now that is a very telling sign for a 14 years history streak, because that's 6 drivers from outside of Ireland into the top 10.
Yeah, if you look at it at the moment, the top 7 drivers are separated by 11 points, Dave. So an 80.3 is just good enough to get you into 7th position. That's where Mitch Larner sits at the moment, and that's only after their safe runs. We still have pretty much our whole field to go for their second run. A lot of drivers sitting on 0s as well.
Yeah, you look at Mike Fitzgerald, Matt Carter, Adrian Walsh, Jerome Vastia. They're all on, and Mark McBurney, Leonard Kepper, Joe Doyle. A lot of guys outside that top 32 on 0s right now. Need to put the work in the second half. And here's the interesting one. Shanahan generally, you kind of look at him and say, with Jack, for instance, you go, he's probably going to go top 5, right? He's probably going to go top 4 in qualifying. Very accomplished driver, but there's a lot of accomplished drivers here today, and the problem is that Viansek and Dean taking those first 2 spots means that Shanahan, to guarantee when he has his run that he makes it, will have to go, I think, top. He's going to have to go above 91, because he's going to have to be sure that he could still win it, but to guarantee it, because he has another, Dean and Viansek and all those guys can still go after him in the order, he's going to have to guarantee he's way up there.
Yeah, well, I think, if you're Jack Shannon, you have your 88 on the board. That's Jack Shannon's so-called safe run. He'll be coming out, he'll be pushing hard. He knows he's in the game, so he'll be coming out. Realistically, even if he's not in those top 5 spots, it's going to be one battle to take the championship. Jack Shannon is not accustomed to going out in top 32, so he won't be too worried at this moment in time. Obviously, he wants to wrap this up as soon as possible just to take the pressure off.
And it's always these events where you come and you think, you know what, he knows this track, he knows what's happening. But Dean and Wiańczek, I mean, what we've seen in Irish drift history, if we want to look at it that way, is we've seen these big stars come here, and we've seen these guys come here, and generally, due to either the car they're driving or conditions, they kind of don't sort of get as far as they would like to, because guys here know the tracks, guys here, maybe a little bit better form that year. We've seen, Chris Forsberg get to a final, we've seen Daiyo Ishihara get to a final, we've seen Forrest Wang get to a podium. Nobody's taken it down. But here's the other side of it. Wiańczek comes out in his first run, and borrowed car he's never driven before this weekend, and he scores higher than James Dean. And that's a big statement.
Yeah, it is a big statement. It shows that car is working. It shows that Peter is working. We already knew, I don't think the Formula Drift haven't seen the full Peter Wiańczek experience just yet. We are seeing it here this weekend because he's nailed that circuit. He could be the one to break the streak here this weekend.
For sure.
The big thing for the visiting drivers is that everything has to go right for them. You need the car to work right. You need to get your setup dialed in. You need to get your line dialed in so early to just really maximize the amount of track time that you're getting and useful track time that you're getting. You need the conditions to stay right for you. And then you need to come up against, well...
I didn't look at the draw then.
It's look at the draw, and you need to try and get, I suppose, a lucky run. There is no real lucky run in the pro.
Not with this grid. I'm pretty sure
there's no easy way. So everything has to go right for a visiting driver. They have to go through battle after battle. Whereas there could be battles where it could be an Irish guy versus an Irish guy, which means we're guaranteed at least one Irish driver to progress. So the odds are in favour of Irish drivers taking the win. And it just adds to the difficulty.
You can see there having to be recovered, and it's great to see drivers, visiting drivers like Phil Morrison there, just making sure everything's okay. And it looks so big and serious, and everyone's on the internet going, it's the biggest serious thing in the world. But realistically, there's just normal guys, work every day, come here with these crazy machines to have fun. And fun is the most important part of drifting. I think people get very caught up on the judging decisions and all this, but I looked at James Dean and Wiańczek in practice, and they were having a ball. They thought this was the most fun they'd ever had in a while because the pressure was off. They were kind of having their own little rivalry and saying, who's going to get further throughout today. When Jack Shanahan gets the championship out of the way, if he does in qualifying, you can expect him to be, he said he's going to take every panel off the car to win this, and he says he's going to beat everybody on the grid. So that's when you see that the best of the best come out. And I think the top 32 through to the final today, with the level of talent here, I'm going to go on record and say I think it will be the best IDC top 16 we've ever seen. I'm going to say it now. I don't go that far, but with the way they're driving, especially with the internationals, the way they're driving, I think we could see the streak broken today too.
Generally, for the sake of just entertainment, I would go against everything that you say, Dave. But you know what?
Thanks,
I firmly believe that you're right today. I think with the stacked grid that we have, with the drivers that just want to take down that streak, the Irish drivers that are fighting for championships, or just they want to go up against the likes of Dean and Wiańczek, we are in for an absolute treat here. We have visiting drivers, but you know what? We have Matt Carter. He's on a 0 from his first run, but he is the current BDC champion, fresh off that championship victory in BDC, and he's going to be trying to take down some of the Irish because he wants that scalp. Martin Richards, we've seen him push the Irish drivers around the track here before, and when many people said that he was worthy of a win here in the past, and he'll be looking for that once more.
But I was just saying, you talk about champions, you talk about championships, we spoke about this, and this is not just about being good in one round, talk about champions. Jack Shanahan is a 2-time BDC champion. Shane O'Sullivan is an ex-BDC champion. Dwayne McKeever is a 2-time IDC champion. Mitch Larner, Australian champion. You keep going down this order. Connor Shannon, Pro-Am champion this year.
Brendan Stone, former IDC champion.
Yeah, Brendan Stone, former champion. You look at Wiańczek, Polish champion. James Dean, champion of absolutely everything for how long has it been. Banksy's been a previous champion. Dean Carney, a previous European champion. I mean, you look at those, Matt Carter, as we mentioned, British champion this year. There's a lot of champions on that grid, and champions mean they don't fold under pressure, and that's not what's going to happen today.
Yeah, and then you look at the guys that may not be champions. They've never been champions, but you know what? They've taken down some big results. The guys like Nigel Colfer, Barry Leonard on his day can take down the best in the business. Paul McCarthy, taking wins in IDC before. Mike Fitzgerald, more than capable of taking down any drivers. Anthony Galvin, he's shown some incredible form this year.
And then you look at the unknowns, like the Danny Nevilles, the Sultans. You look at Adam Nagy. You look at these guys that are just complete unknowns. We don't know what they're capable of right now, but we will by this evening, I'm sure. And I think we're in for a very, very interesting day here as time progresses. This is just qualifying. Remember, this is the boring part of the show. Qualifying is the boring part, just to get everybody into battles. When we go head to head at 70 plus, 80 plus miles an hour later on, full dry conditions, I'm looking forward to it. I'm honestly, as a final day to the season, it's been a long season. This is what you want. Everybody on their A game. And whoever takes that trophy this evening, as far as I'm concerned, whether it's an international to break that 14 years of history or it's an Irishman to hold it, it's going to be epic.
It is going to be epic. I think we're going to have the driving, but look at the crowds flowing into Mondello Park here. I think the atmosphere is going to be insane. We can already see them, you know, lining up all around the circuit here. They're 2 or 3 deep at some points on the track, and that just goes to show this is only qualifying. Crowds already here. They're expecting
qualifying
is
usually the quiet part. We just kind of chill. We go through qualifying, but now we've got like a pretty big audience watching qualifying. Got a pretty big audience online. If you're watching online and live stream, hit us up. We're watching it here in the tower, watching your comments. Let us know where you're watching from. We're going to give you a shout out. If you're from a really unique place, if you're from a couch in Nace, we ain't going to shout you out because you should be here. But if you're from somewhere across the world, we saw people from Australia cheering on Mitch Larner, Hong Kong, all over the world watching it. Over 26 countries we counted at the last event. Crazy. So here we go. Adam Nagy on the line. And Adam, representing Zestino Tires this weekend, driving Tom Murphy's car, had a mechanical error on the first run, shut it down. So he's got to do it all here, Eddie.
Yeah, certainly does. A lot of pressure on the shoulders of Adam Nagy as he comes out for the second half of qualifying. Can he get himself into the main event? We are about to find out. Down the stretch he comes as he throws in the car of Tom Murphy, borrowed car. Just runs a little bit wide, dropping a couple of wheels now, and just about manages to keep that going. But Dave, this does not look like it's going to be good enough to see him into that top 32.
Well, he's got to do something spectacular here now because he has messed up the first 3 clips. So let's see if he can keep it going and throws it back to the wall. You know what? It looks like if he had a few more laps. Oh, he shuts it down.
Very wide as he exited Mobile 1 as well.
Yeah, he looks down. That's definitely a gear changing issue there. He seems to be having on both runs. And again, back to the drawing board for Adam Nagy there as he does not make the top 32 battle action later on. So an international driver falls victim, an Irish driver falls victim. That's where we stand right now.
So we move on to Kevin Quinn, who currently sits in 19th position after his 65 in his first run. He's representing Quinn's Coach Hire and Zestino Tires.
Yep,
made pro after his first year of competitive drifting, running a 2JZ 700 brake horsepower underneath the bonnet, G-Force box, Winters quick change in the rear.
Yep, big entry coming in here, Eddie. Almost can't keep up on him with the camera. Wow, wow, this is fast from Kevin Quinn. Very aggressive. Will he be able to slow it down though? Just about Kevin Quinn. Where did that come from? Absolutely nailed it.
Yeah, 100 kilometers per hour drift speed through that second clipping zone, and Kevin Quinn putting on a show as he sends up the smoke signals. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for
that is insane. How did he not go in the gravel there? That was insane. He put on full angle and kept it on track. That's a great score for Kevin Quinn.
He certainly has bumps himself right up the order into 7th position with an 82. 82 for Kevin Quinn.
It's getting serious now. It's getting serious. So we got guys watching from Melbourne. We got people watching in from Perth, Australia, Tasmania, Canada, US, Norway, Holland, Dubai, all over the world. Wishing they could be here in Ireland on a cloudy day. So next up we have got Michael Megan. He's going to have to start putting some good runs in.
Yeah, Michael Megan on a 56, down in 26th position, Dave. Perilously close to that drop zone. Not where you want to be right now. He's going to have to come out and put it all on the line here.
Do or die time for Michael Megan here as he throws it up onto that first clip. Not bad so far.
Yeah, getting the front wheels just into that second clipping zone. Now Michael Megan starts to dial in the angle and put foot to floor around that Mobile 1 turn as throws it now down towards the walls. It's looking good here from Michael Megan. Will it be an improvement on that first score? Really looking to bump himself up the order, and certainly does. Michael Megan jumps into 18th position with a 69, so 69
not a bad run
Michael
at
Megan.
all from Michael Megan. Now here's a man with a lot of pressure on his shoulders is Adrian Walsh in his V8 Corolla, returning to action here at round 5. Looked insanely good in practice.
Yeah,
and
but
now
a spin at that 8 clipping zone was detrimental to his cause, and sits outside the top 32, Dave.
Yeah, and of course, you know, all the clipping points equally weighted on this course. You know, he kept playing with a great run, but missing that last wall clip, so he got to be perfect here to get up the order. Nice initiation, Adrian Walsh. He'll be much more confident in the dry here, I feel.
Yeah, this looking much better from Adrian. But again, it was towards the end of the circuit where he had his problems on the first run.
The noise of this car is just incredible.
Yeah.
What a piece of machinery.
And that's only at half throttle as well. He's not even foot to the floor completely here. You can just see him feather the throttle all the way around.
Yeah, much more solid run from Adrian Walsh there. And of course, if Adrian doesn't win the event, he probably will win the show and shine later on today, because that car is actually in better condition than any show car here.
Yeah, but
and he ties walls.
Yeah, jumping right up the order into 10th position here with a 73.7. So the scores really starting to creep up.
And when the pressure's on, he needs to do it. David Hobbs is the next driver on the line. Very different Corolla. Same attitude though. Get into that, well into that top 32.
Yeah, he needs better than a 52 here to get himself into the game. He did score a 0 on the first run, Dave. These guys are working tirelessly over the last few days to try and get a new engine into this car for Japfest. Running a little bit wide on clip 2.
And very fast though, very fluid through the course. Absolutely full throttle. There is no lift whatsoever on this car as he kicks the clutch. And not a bad run from David Hobbs so far as he puts in a go. Is he going to hit the wall? Oh, it looked like he was, and he does hit the wall, rear and front. Going a little bit too hot into that, guys. Give him a round of applause, pushing hard. 200 horsepower on track up against it, but he looks like he's had some steering damage there, and you can see not impressed. Guys, give him a round of applause as he enters the last round with, leaves the last round with a bang as he hits, and you can see just coming in way too hot. But when you're underpowered, you got to throw it all out there. And it looks like he just went a little too hot, caught the tires, caught the wall, and then it brought the front of the car in. And I think that's what did the damage. Steering seems to be upset on the front of the car, and there you have it.
Yeah, so 2 0s on the board, unfortunately, for David Hobbs. It means the end of his season, Dave.
Yeah, people say, we've got people watching in from New Jersey, got people watching in from, well, literally every corner. Melbourne, Australia, watching on. Big shout out to Aaron Stone. People watching in from Tom there, so shout out to his girlfriend Carly and his son who are here.
Hobbs pushing 150% right then to try and get in that qualifying session. Stack grid, how's the pressure at you, dude?
Serious pressure, alright, but we're only out here for the crack, so a little bit too hard, but just say sorry to Mr. Mills there, my panel beater. He's going to have a job in his hand.
Listen, you're the most underpowered guy on the grid. Hats off for doing what you do. Keep it going, dude. We look forward to seeing you next season.
Cheers, thanks.
Well done.
So David Hobbs said he's here for a bit of crack, but he's only a lot of the cracks are now on the car.
Yes. Cracking bumpers, shedding some weight, but unfortunately not able to make it over that line and put a score on the board.
No, so unfortunately, you know.
But as he says, shout out to Mr. Mills, his panel beater.
He's got 6 months. He's got 6 months, and I'm sure David, every year he comes back with a new old school livery on that car, and I can't wait to see what he comes out with next. It always looks so well prepared, but finished the season not the way he wanted it, but you know, we've always seen him creep into that top 16. You know, he's so consistent, but today just catching him out a little bit.
Yeah, such a very talented driver, and it would be nice to see what he'd be capable of in a, you know, a more powerful and better equipped car.
Yeah, but you know what? You know, he still does stand as a unique part of the grid where you don't have to spend a fortune on drifting to still be in the big show. And a lot of guys this year proving that results and power don't equal. So, you know, a lot of guys with lesser horsepower climbing up those championship ranks. So it looks like we'll have another recovery on track for David Hobbs' car. And of course, we will still await those big runs to come later in qualifying, Eddie. And check it out. A lot of people, a big shout out to Mike, who's watching on from Lanzarote, Darryl from Sydney, Western Australia representing, watching Mitch Larner, Simon Perry, BDC driver, watching on from Leeds. So the whole world waiting to see what happens today in Ireland in a small and only race circuit in the country.
And of course, if you are here in attendance, make sure you get down to the IDC merchandise tent. Those guys will have some great offers here this weekend as they look to get rid of some of the stock left over from this year.
It's a sale down at the Irish Drift Championship stall if you want to get yourself some packages, hoodies, t-shirts, Drift Game stuff, BDC stuff. They've got sunglasses, lanyards, hats, everything down there. It's just on pit straight.
Tell them Dave sent you.
Yeah, tell them Dave sent you. Tell them Eddie sent you. Tell them anyone sent you, because they'll give you anything. They're looking to unload all of the stock, so they're going to do some great offers down there. So go down and say hello to the guys during the break. And what time is it in Australia right now? Because half of Australia is watching this live stream. So can someone tell me what time in Australia it is on the live stream?
Yeah, there won't be much work done in Australia on Monday morning.
Is there ever much work done in Australia now, I'd imagine? Because they're all Irish people over there anyway.
Yeah, so, well, work done drinking.
Yeah, so we sent a load of Irish people over and we got a Mitch Larner back. Was it a fair trade? It probably was a fair trade.
Probably was.
Yeah.
Could we see Mitch Larner take it all the way to the top step here today this weekend?
So basically, you're saying that Mitch Larner would take the trophy back to Australia, and Australia would now claim 14 years of history and all our young talented people all in the 1 year, and Australia would be the real winner.
Yes, and then you'd have to go over and take over drifting in Australia.
Well, that's very far away, and I'm lazy enough. I like more than a couple of hours from my house. I'm not. So David Hobbs leaves the track, guys. Give him a round of applause. Last you'll see of him this year. And he is battered and bruised, but I'm sure he's going to be having a beer in his hand and watching the rest of the action for the rest of the day.
And as he does leave the track, quick mention to our sponsors, of course, Stone Motorsport, Origin, Labo, Achilles Radial, Westlake Tyres, MixGarage.com, Brian James Traders, Cestino Tyres UK, JDM Distro, VP Racing Fuels, Samco Sport, The Detailing Shed, Monster Energy, and of course our title sponsor, Link Engine Management. We are good to go for our next driver on the grid, which will be former IDC champion Brendan Stone. Sits on a 69 from...
So we're just making some maintenance to the track now at the moment.
So obviously,
yeah, Dave
Hobbs making the contact with the wall. We just want to make sure that it's set up nicely, that it's not going to stick out in a way that would actually hinder one of our other drivers.
Yeah, Marshall's going to make the call on that to make sure everything's 100%. It's 9:30 in the evening in Australia right now, so,
so
as the day goes on,
it's early.
We'll get more pumped up, they'll get more tired, but we'll somewhere meet in the middle. A big shout out to the NADT Norfolk Arena crew watching on the internet, as it's known.
On the internets.
Yeah.
Salute in Spain represented.
Yeah, I think it's just Irish lads on their holidays, is what that is. Cheap package deals.
Yes.
And a bit of live stream by the beach.
Flying Ryanair can't get home.
Yeah, stuck there for weeks.
Cancelled.
Yeah. So, as I said, we're going to have a fun day today. That's what drifting's all about. We're going to enjoy it, and I'm excited to see. When it comes to battles later on, remember, if you've not watched drifting before, if this is your first time in Mondello watching it, this is the boring part of the show, where everyone does single runs.
Henry Larner saying 7:30 in Perth is a possible relation of Mitch Larner.
We'll just say he is. He's his long-lost brother.
Shout out to the beige bandit.
The beige bandit.
Connor Moan watching on from Ibiza. There's plenty of other things you could be doing in Ibiza, but you know what?
Thanks
for tuning in.
Nothing better than watching IDC from Ibiza.
Poolside.
All of the action, none of the weather. So we are here waiting for our track to be finished up and repaired, and we'll send our next car into battle action, or into qualifying action.
So big shout out to Darren Earl, who actually ended up in A&E in Wexford this morning after he was in an accident on his way to Japfest. So hope nothing too serious, and we hope that you get on the mend very soon.
So we just wait for our Mondello people who are busy trying to park everybody here in Mondello Park to get out to fix the wall. And as I said, for you guys tuning in on live stream, I want you to do us a favor, because we're always doing them a favor, giving them shout outs, saying where they're from. I want you guys to do us a favor. I want you to hit share. It's at the bottom of your screen on the left. Hit the share button. Get it out there. We want the whole world watching today. For you guys here in attendance, we're getting warmed up. We're going to finish our qualifying session, and you guys get to check out all the amazing cars and trade stands that are here at Japfest. Then we're going to battle action later on, and I honestly cannot wait. We're going to give the track a little bit of a sweep, get it all, pretty and polished, and we're ready to go for top 32 action. That is at 2 o'clock today, and then we are back for our top 16 at 4 o'clock today. So that's how it works. That's how it always works, but if you don't know how it works, then you have to be told how it works, right?
Exactly, yes. So for those of you who are new to the sport, we want to keep you up to date with everything.
Look, see, there's all the European cars being told you're not allowed in.
Yeah.
I see on the screen. There's a Golf and a Fiesta.
Go back to Germany. You're not wanted.
Roads closed, pizza boy. Yeah, I got it in there. It's my 5th Fast and the Furious quote this weekend. But yes, so obviously we're going to have a huge crowd here this weekend. Mondello Park, are you looking forward to today? No, nobody's looking forward to today. It's all very pessimistic.
Saving their voices for later on, hopefully. But, you got me thinking earlier on, Dave, when you spoke to the drivers in briefing, and you kind of said to them about just to remember that this has become very normal day to day for them, and to remember to really embrace it and get involved with the crowd. But it got me thinking, what are the things about drifting that have changed your life that make you most happy? What has drifting brought to your life? The good things that drifting has brought to your life.
The bad things are the early mornings. I'm going to be out there and say that.
Because sometimes we can focus on, it can be long, hard days here, cold weather, and sometimes we can focus a little bit on the negative things. But drifting, it brings so much positivity to a lot of people's lives here. What are the main things that it has brought to your life?
To me, I think the amazing thing about drifting here, especially looking at Mondello and the crowd that we have here today, you're looking at the best drivers in the entire world, most of them now, and almost proven in a couple of weeks with James Dean coming from Ireland, kids 14 and 15 years of age beating people in different countries. Every car on the grid now is better and more horsepower than a WRC rally car, and they're home built. This is the highest horsepower stock chassis motorsport in the country. It's the most successful motorsport in the country. It has no governing body. It has nobody government funding it. It has, the drivers don't even get paid, yet they're putting on a show that Sky Sports ready because they love it and because they want to see fans come and smile and enjoy the show. And that's the incredible thing about it. It's a group of people coming together with absolutely no knowledge or experience of what they're doing to make something special. And that's what we're seeing here at IDC. And it's amazing to be part of it. It's a humbling experience for me, Eddie, because there is so many cool people involved in the sport. And if you're not involved, get involved, because everybody is as down to earth as they don't appear on the screen. They all seem like superstars. These are normal guys. They go to work tomorrow like everyone else.
Yeah, certainly if you have an interest, it is definitely the most accessible motorsport in the world right now. We are ready. We get the thumbs up from our marshals. Brendan Stone is on the line. It's a return to the action.
And you know what? We've been waiting a long time for a taxi right there.
We certainly have.
We had him on the Uber. We were tracking him. He's on the start line. Here we go. It's Brendan Stone. Pretty solid run on his first run out there. He's in 18th position, but let's see if he can improve here. Dry conditions, he should like this more.
Yeah, he certainly should. And doing a nice job. Fires it through the first corner. Nice line from Brendan Stone so far. Can he keep this going? Gets onto that high line around Mobile 1. And as we said, a former champion of the Irish drift scene here is Brendan Stone, so more than capable of going top and qualifying here. And this looking like a really strong run from Brendan Stone as he crosses the line. Applause from the judges means you know it's going to be a good score. Brendan Stone jumps into 5th position with an 84.5.
Big score for Brendan Stone there. Impressive stuff in a very big car and a very big score, and quite a big man as well. So let's see what happens now as he jumps into 5th. Can Darren Coates jump up the order? He had a sketchy first run.
He certainly did, and Dave, he's sitting on the drop zone, 32nd position with a 52.08 on the first run. What has Darren Coates got on the second run? Can he get himself up the ranks? Just runs a little bit wide on that second clipping zone now. Needs to get it back together to get himself into the game here. Foot to floor, but Darren Coates isn't on the correct line here. And you can see track conditions really drying up. Hot and fast out there now. Not the perfect line from Darren Coates, but getting around the circuit. An improvement on his first run, no doubt. Will he improve? He certainly does. Darren Coates jumps up to 26th position with a 61.5, so could be there or thereabouts.
Yeah, not so bad.
When all is said and done at the end of qualifying.
Yeah, we move on to our next driver, Kieran Casey on the line. Another driver suffering some issues earlier on, but he's got one more run for the season, Eddie. One more run and you're done. Everyone's going to be throwing it in hot now.
Yeah, it's time to put it all on the line. Needs to put in a big run to get himself into the game.
Yeah, and he comes off the line, his car very capable. Kieran very capable, but he's in 38th at the moment. He needs to jump 6 spots to even have a chance. Coming in very hot. Is it wide though? Is it going to go towards? No, keeps it on track, but misses 2 clipping zones. He's got to work hard from here.
Yeah, wide on 2, missing 3. Gets it back online though. Oh, but a big error there as he goes to transition through the midsection and throws it onto the wall, and it's a little bit wet and wild here from Kieran Casey as he struggles with the conditions. And Kieran Casey gets it across the line, but that error, Dave, I think the judge is really going to mark him down for that. Looks as though he gets himself into the top 32, but 29th position and a 56 on the board means he will have a nervous wait.
Yeah, big shout out to Toby Appleton, one of our crew from the BBC watching on from sunny Yorkshire. And just a quick one, now we're saying that you don't have to be good at drifting to qualify anymore. You've got to be exceptional, because getting around this track and being able to drift is irrelevant because everyone can do it now. Now you've got to be so good that you've got to be scary good. And Kieran Casey showing with a 56 solid run, but it's not enough. TJ Burney will be the next man outside the top 32 to try and jump up that order. Got to be steady, got to be consistent, got to hit those clipping zones.
Yeah, we know TJ's certainly capable of putting in a good run here, but again, washes ever so slightly wide, missing clip 2 and 3. Gets it back online as he comes around by Mobile, but so much of the score is weighted on the first section of that track that he's really battling against it here. He'll have lost so many of those points, so struggling to try and gain them back.
Line is good though towards the end of the circuit, Eddie, and a hand out the window. He's having a lot of fun out there. He was in the British Drift Championship last week as well, having a lot of fun. TJ Burney, will he score enough to get himself into the mix?
It looks as though he does enough just to get into 32nd position with a 53. Will he stay there? I don't know, Dave.
Right on the
a lot of drivers yet to go for their second run sits outside.
Nigel Colfer now, he sits in 14th. Can we get some Irish drivers into that top 10? Can we get them back into the mix? Can we get a fight on here against all these guys from the UK and Poland and Australia? Can an Irish driver get up? Can Nigel Colfer say, you know what, scruff of the neck, 90-point run?
Nigel scores a 71 on his first attempt. He's definitely capable of putting an 80 on the board. Can he get himself into that top 10 even? The score's a little bit lower than we would be accustomed to seeing on this layout, just because of the wet conditions at the start of practice. We should start to see those creep up. And 80 is only enough for 9th position at the moment. So to get yourself into that top 10, you really need to be pushing hard. Nigel Colfer is doing just that. Nice line as he comes through the first 3 clipping zones. Keeps it wide here now on Mobile 1. As you can see, foot to floor. Smoke starts to appear from the Tri-Ace tyres as he lays down that rubber on this Mondello circuit, throws it onto the wall, and Nigel Colfer.
Yeah, this is right up there, Eddie. Very, very technically good run from Nigel Colfer. Perfect. Maybe not as flamboyant as some of the runs we've seen, but I think that's going to bump up the order for sure.
Yeah, it certainly does. Bumps Nigel into 8th position, and 83.3 for him.
Yeah, knocks Martin Richards out of the top 10, so, you know, one back for the Irish there. So let's see where our next driver lands in. His driver, as we mentioned, with only 2 gears in the car, it's Barry Leonard, sits outside the top 32 and has it all against him.
Yeah, a big struggle here for Barry because, you know, he's having to leave his acceleration very, very late because he can only do the track in 2nd gear, which means as a result his speed is affected, which affects his score. But nice line from Barry, just not carrying enough speed to get out to that 3rd clipping zone, Dave.
No, he's going to have to be very...
Struggling with the speed.
Yeah, so as he comes around the last corner there, you know, it's a run, but I'm not sure at this level of competition, at this level of talent on the grid, Barry would need to bring every gun he has to the fight, and he's not bringing all of them.
Well, you know what? He's only able to bring 2 gears to the fight, and it still manages to creep into the top 32. I mean, all credit where credit's due. 31st position for Barry, a 55. I mean, that's so impressive.
And just to note that if you're looking at these scores coming in and winning, it's also the speeds rising massively through that first corner. So that's why the second run's scoring much higher than the first set of runs in those wet conditions. Paul Conlon, next driver on the line, and he will lead the line, 700 horsepower Link engine management 2JZ. And Paul, sketchy first run outside the top 32, got to come in very hot here, and he does. Misses clipping point 2 though, almost comes away from 3 air. A little bit offline there, but from my perspective, he is, you know, making a lot of smoke. He's looking pretty fast, but the judges are going to be marketing quite technically here.
Yeah, I think he needs to creep into the 60s here if he wants to have a hope of qualifying. A 60 would be enough for 26th, 27th at the moment, but with so many drivers left to complete their second run.
Good run though for Paul Conlon, a lot of smoke out of that car.
Yeah, a lot of smoke for Paul Conlon, jumps just inside the top 32 into 31st position. A 55 for him, bumps Barry Leonard down onto the drop zone. Barry Leonard now sitting in 32nd position with Paul Conlon. Again, a nervous wait for him. And it just goes to show when you have guys the standard of Paul Conlon only creeping into the top 32, just how difficult it is out there for these drivers. Again, a lot of sitting smoke on the track after Paul Conlon.
And just looking at the scores, it switched around now. 6 Irish drivers into the top 10, with Brendan Stone, Kevin Quinn, and Nigel Colfer making up some runs. So let's see how it switches around as time goes on. But Paul McCarthy sitting just outside the top 10 in 13th position. Remember, points for the Super Series are important here. Qualifying position does count for your finishing position in the event. He knows he's got to be right up there.
Yeah, and of course, with this car, he never knows just how long it's going to actually last for him throughout the event, so wants to get as good a result here in qualifying as possible. We know when the car is working right that Paul can put it on the podium, but very, very technically correct here on this second run in qualifying. Can he improve on that first score? Paul McCarthy nailing this run, Dave.
Yeah, nailing, but just as you said it, Eddie, coming a little bit too shy of that second wall run, so let's see how that reflects in his score.
So Paul McCarthy's score comes in and he does improve, jumps up to 11th position with a 77.
Yeah, not bad. 11th position, you know, and one of the more under sort of developed, I would say was the polite word, cars on the grid. Home-built car is a massive achievement in itself, and he'll be very happy with that finish. Qualified. Dennis Murphy's up next, sitting outside the top 32. 53 on the board. Not enough to get him into that top 32. Has to go big or go home here.
Yeah, needs to put in a big run, but Dennis Murphy, more than capable. Track conditions perfect for him. Now look at the line, Dave, as he goes right out to that outer zone at the third clipping zone. Just comes away from the fifth clip a little bit too early. But a big wall run from Dennis Murphy. And this, Dave, a big improvement as he tags the wall, exits the circuit in style.
It's funny to see they're like sort of using the wall for transitioning. They sort of hit it and pushes you the other way, and away you go.
Yeah, it's almost a slowing block as well.
Check
Dennis
this out.
Murphy jumps into 11th position with a 77, but look at that view from our guys that see it live.
Yeah, drone up and flying around is going to be check it in with everybody here in Mondello, but it looks like it's
Speaking of drones, there's Keith Droney down on the line. Droney on a pony.
Yeah, so as you can see, the smoke clearing from the circuit. Charlie Geary is our next driver to go, and he sits in 17th position, so he is mid-pack at the moment. Pretty safe, maybe, at the moment for a top 32 battle action, but he'd like to just be a little safer. And of course, it does, if you're new to drifting, why they're trying to qualify high is it's the first place qualifier that goes against the 32nd place qualifier. So the higher you qualify, you're probably going to come up against someone not, struggling a little bit at that point. So you don't want to go up against the first place guys. So the 32nd position is what nobody wants.
Yeah, but you know what we saw there? We saw it yesterday, Dave. Second place at 31st position in qualifying. And the lower qualifier taking out the higher qualifier. So it doesn't always guarantee it, but as you say, does lend itself for an easier run. But Charlie Geary doing a really nice job here now. Sits on a 70.5 from his first run, so he's on form at the moment. Sits in 17th position, mid-pack, and safe for battle action, but looking to improve and bump himself up. Charlie Geary just here for a good time, enjoying his rookie season in pro.
The information here says that he likes to sing in the shower. I'm not sure how relevant that is, but thought we get it out there. And see if he can get himself into the top of the qualifying session. Stays where he is, I think.
Well, no, bumps up it up a little bit. 14th position, a 73.8, and in his rookie season, sitting in 15th position in the championship. But a lot of guys similarly on similar points to him there, so a good result here could see him bump himself up into that top 10, and that would be one hell of a way to finish your rookie season in pro. So we move on to Mike Fitzgerald, who, Dave, sits on a 0.
Yeah, a 0 from his first run means that he has to do it here. He will go home with no battle action today if he does not put in a score higher than 56, and Mike Fitzgerald has it all to do here. Into the first quarter, the Drift Games RX-7FC 2JZ power, Toyota engine and a Mazda body, and a little bit better so far, right to the edge of the circuit. He's done a lot of laps in this Mondello circuit. He's got to pull from that experience, do the best he can, and not mess up the end like he did the last time. He's got to get it through those last couple of clipping zones, and look at this, much more composed from Mike Fitzgerald as he takes it to that last wall. It's not perfect, but it might just be enough, Eddie, to get him into that top 32.
Yeah, Mike putting down probably it's an 80% run, not trying it too much, just get into the game, it's all important. And yeah, 14th position for Mike Fitzgerald with a 75, so job done from him.
Yeah, it just when he needed it. Adrian Walsh, Mike Fitzgerald, the guy's doing the job on the second run. Another man that has to do exactly the same thing is Joe Doyle. 0 on his first run. This is do or die as well for Joe Doyle. This is Steno Tire Quids Coach Hire R33. Can he do it? 600 horsepower, RB25, throws it in hot, has to put points on the board.
Yeah, Joe Doyle more than capable, just struggles ever so slightly to get out to that outer clipping zone. Can he finish this off in style now? Sends up the smoke screen. Ooh. Big error in transition there from Joe Doyle, and that would be the end of his weekend.
You know what? I think he dropped those two wheels into the mud, and when he went to transition, no grip on the tires, cost him over-rotated. That's the wide line automobile one, I think, cost him there. And that is such an unfortunate end to the weekend for Joe Doyle, who looked one of the strongest in practice.
Yeah, I mean, very uncharacteristic from Joe Doyle, because he's usually there or thereabouts, well able to put it up to the big boys. But next on the line, sitting also on a 0, Mark McBurney.
Yeah, Mark McBurney, put it in an okay first run. Remember, the conditions weren't great, so he's going to have full confidence in the car and the grip levels. So he got a 0 on his first run. Let's see how he gets on here. Over-rotated into his first wall run, if I remember correctly, on the first run. So let's see how he goes here. Oh, a little bit straight, but getting out to that clipping zone, and that's the hardest part of the track for Mark McBurney. He says, let's see if we can get this Drift Shed NI SR20 powered 180 across the line. Can he get through this wall section without causing issues? Much better this time. A little bit tentative, but not making the same mistakes, but shy of that second wall.
Yeah, he looked a little bit nervous as he came by that section. Just backed out of it ever so slightly, but gets it across the line. Now, where does he land? Does he get himself inside the...
Yeah, once claimed that he slammed the revolving door. That's what Mark McBurney's claiming.
Yeah.
But can he slam himself into the top 32?
It's pretty difficult to slam a revolving door, but no difficulty getting into the top 32. Mark McBurney jumps into 11th position with a 79.
Not bad at all for Mark McBurney there. Next up, Gary Dunn. And it seems like all the guys struggling in the wet weather conditions now starting to start and make those scores come in. Remember, why these scores are actually almost making the first half irrelevant is because of the speeds. Speeds are much, much higher. That's bumping these guys up massively.
Yeah, so Gary Dunn on a 57 from the first run, so he sits in 31st, so perilously close to that drop zone. Dave needs a big run here to get himself into the game.
He does indeed, and Gary, a big game player. He has to make it happen here. Says last run of the year, he said he might be taking a little bit of time out of competition next year for personal reasons, so he wants to have a good finish on his local track. Well, right now, looking good so far.
Yeah, looking good through the first zone, but then starts to drop off that qualifying line. Needs a strong finish here, throws it nicely down onto the wall. Millimeter perfect as he scrubs that rear bumper off the wall and switches it back over the line. Guys, put your hands together for Gary Dunn. Does he improve? He certainly does. Jumps himself right up the order into 22nd position and safe for battle action. 69 on the board for Gary Dunn on his second run, and that is how you deal with the pressure of needing to put in a big run. Anthony Galvin, next driver on the line. He sits on a 69, so he's 21st position, just so slightly ahead of Gary Dunn. And this guy, really well this year, Dave.
Yeah, and he's come back a different driver, a different machine, and he's been married recently. He's looking very chilled out, looks very relaxed. He said he was smiling and laughing. Saying he's going out here, not putting the pressure on himself, not falling apart like he used to. And from my perspective, looking very strong. If he get himself into battle action, especially after that result of round one, you do not want to be seeing Anthony Galvin beside your name on the battle sheet.
No, certainly not. Anthony, not to be taken lightly. Came back here this year with a new attitude. Can he improve on his first score, or will he stay where he is? He does jump up the order. Anthony Galvin jumps up one place though with a 70.5, and 20th position is where he's going to finish.
Yep, next on the line, representing Team Delta Westlake Tires Driftworks is Brian Egan, and he is sitting pretty comfortably at the moment in 19th position, but he'd want to improve that. Can he get himself into the top 10? It's going to take a huge run here to do it. He needs at least an 80 to get into that top 10, and he's coming in very hot. Full throttle, right to the edge of the circuit, and can he hold it as he slows the car down rapidly at the moment? That's a perfect outside line though for Brian Egan as he just dips one wheel into the dirt, making sure that he hit that out. So a good run from Brian Egan there. Yeah, let's see how he scores. Has he done enough to get himself up the order? Well, it looks like he will stay.
No, jumps up one spot with a 72.9.
So, it says apologies, our mic's dropping in and out, Eddie, as our, I think it's all the weather and rain and everything this weekend, just playing havoc with the electric. We're ready to go with the Thunder from down under. Mitch Larner was in first position, has dropped down now to 10th position. What has he got here? Look at the speed! That's the fastest entry today right there as far as I'm concerned. Look at the line!
Holds it. Judges liking this when you can hear them rooting for Mitch Larner to keep this one going. Look at the smoke that this machine creates. Western Australia has just been awoken. The Thunder from down under, hand out the window, make some noise, Mondello.
You know what? That's going to be up there. That is a serious run from Mitch Larner.
Mitch Larner picking up some fans. Can Mitch Larner go top?
So, he's up there. The scores are rising in. Mitch Larner slots into first position with a 91.9. Mitch Larner goes top, beating Viansteck and Dean, pushing Shanahan right onto fourth position. So Jack Shanahan is now in 4th position. Remember, he needs a top 4 to automatically win the championship, and right now he sits in 4th, but one other man could drop him out.
The big story here, Dave. Dwayne McKeever down in 25th position.
Yeah, not where he's used to being, and now with a full dry track, expect Dwayne McKeever to turn it on here.
Yeah, he needs to go big. He needs to get a better than a 90 just to go in the top 3. He needs to go better than an 88 to go top 4. He needs to go better than an 84 to go top 6. He needs to pull it out of the bag here. Yeah. He needs to make a statement of intent.
And he's won 2 of the biggest events this year, Eddie, which was the Global Warfare, Pro Warfare, and the Drift Austin.
Yeah, and Dwayne McKeever is not happy that he's not in contention for the championship here. He's coming, fires through the first corner.
Wow, that's a big entry from Dwayne McKeever. Can he hold it? He can hold it. McKeever's on for it here.
Slams that throttle to the limiter in the Tri-Ace Tire 180SX, representing Driftworks and McKeever's Auto Spares. Dwayne McKeever, big run, Dave.
Oh, it's heating up now,
massive
Eddie.
improvement.
It's heating up now, Eddie. We're starting to see what we promised you earlier on, the best in the business, and McKeever now. Will he jump up higher? Scores drop in, he jumps into, would you believe it, 4th position for Dwayne McKeever with an 88.9. Shanahan down to 5th. Means he has to go higher to guarantee the championship in qualifying. Larner, Viansek, Dean, McKeever. Next on the line, Pete Nielsen. And Pete Nielsen at the moment sitting outside the top 32. His championship dream of top 3 in the championship now sits in the balance, Eddie, because he has to get into those battles to even stand a chance.
Yeah, very important times here for Team Nielsen, because a 55 on his first run, not enough to get him in, and he needs better than a 61.08 to get himself into that game. Can Mr. Serious do it? He leaves the line, here he comes.
Yeah, Nielsen's got to put in a picture perfect run here. Clip 1, clip 2, let's see about clip 3. Almost, not perfect, but still in the game here for Pete Nielsen. So much water on the track, and those Westlake tires, as Estino tires and Achilles tires have ripped away those clipping points, getting it harder for the drivers to see exactly where they need to be. Nielsen doing a better job here, Eddie, much better job.
Really good here from Pete Nielsen, nailing that line, just a little bit shy of some of the clipping zones, but keeping it wide and doing enough certainly to get himself into the top 32. He jumps right into the mid-pack, 16th position for Pete Nielsen with a 76. Massive improvement there for him. Pete doesn't bring the flamboyance, but very technically correct.
For sure. Now next on the line is Shane O'Sullivan. And would you believe it, Shane O'Sullivan sits in 29th position after his first run. A man we're used to seeing on the podium here. A man that's been on probably more podiums than anybody else on the grid in Ireland. But he hasn't won an event. Will today be the day for the Jap Speed and Maxxis Tires driver? Pressure on the Galway man now.
Yes, pressure certainly on Shane O'Sullivan. But this much more like it. Nice line through that first corner. Keeps it nice and wide out to the 3rd clipping zone. The Jap Speed Maxxis Tire S15. Orby under the bonnet.
My mistake, there's actually a Tuesday this
JZ, yeah, sorry, the engine transplant this year.
And look at this, O'Sullivan tags the wall, he flicks up a bit of leftover tire, and that's a big run from Shane O'Sullivan. The hitters are starting to hit heavier than ever now.
Yeah, Shane O'Sullivan, he's in the game long enough not to feel the pressure. He knows he can get it done in one run. Jumps into 7th position with an 87. So 87 only enough for 7th position.
Wow. And now, here is a man that would like to top qualifying. Scored an 88.3 on his first run. It's Tomas Kiley. We've seen him top qualifying here before. Well, he's got to score a 92 here to do it. Can Kiley go top? 17 years of age, almost 800 horsepower. He's got the tools. Can he make them work? Big weight transfer entry from Kiley as he fires it through those first 2 clipping zones.
Yeah, here comes Kiley. Really nice wide line here from Tomas Kiley as he shreds some Achilles rubber. Big angle as he throws it down onto the wall, but just gets it a little bit wrong.
Went a little bit overboard there, I think. Eddie
trying to put on a bit of a show.
Yeah, trying to be special, trying to do what's known as a Mitch Lerner, but did not pull it off in the end, and Carly will not improve on his 6th position at the moment. And moving on to our next driver. It is the man that has to improve, because if he doesn't, then he won't win the championship now. He may win it later, but right now he needs to score at this moment in time an 88.9 or higher to provisionally win the Irish Championship. Can he do it? Jack Shanahan, he's coming in hot. A big entry, 90 degrees into the first corner for Shanahan.
Yeah, Shanahan throws it almost backwards through the first corner. He's gunning for that top spot. Can he do it? Shanahan, hand out the window, and just as he comes around mobile, will we see the hand reappear? I almost guarantee it. Big angle through the final section. Smokes up and shreds those Westlake tyres. He's waving to you. Wave back, because Shanahan came to play. Can he get himself into the top 4 and secure the championship at qualifying?
Well, the scores will drop in if Jack Shanahan does go high. I would say if he goes first, you can be pretty sure it'll be very hard to shake him from that top 4 position at the moment. Where does he land? Scores are dropping in. Mitch Larner scored a 91.9. Shanahan scores a 93.5. Shanahan goes top in qualifying, and provisionally looks like he may be ready to take on and take home that IDC championship before we even finish qualifying, but a lot more drivers to go. Bagsy on the line. Could Bagsy upset the balance? Could these internationals knock Shanahan out of the top 4? Anything can happen.
Yeah, I think it's time for Bagsy to show us what he's made of. A 71 on his first run now. Can he lay a statement of intent? He's talking about how he wants to come here to take down the streak.
Yeah, and he's a big game player. That's what he is. And right now he's got to score above a 93.5 to get on top spot. Look at the edge!
This from Steve Biaggioni. What about that? Can he keep it out to the third clipping zone? Just comes off a little bit early. But Steve Biaggioni throwing everything at it through that first corner. And oh, massive angle again through the midsection as he throws it down onto the wall.
This is a big run right here. Very big run. Little scrappy towards the end, but the initiation and the entry where the judges are weighing heavily, very, very good. Bagsy in the game for sure.
Yeah, Bagsy jumps himself up the order, but 18th positions where he's going to land with a 76.25 does improve ever so slightly.
Yeah, Bagsy with a couple of issues there, but from my perspective, a very solid result. And let's see where we go from there. You can see the smoke clouds clearing from Mondello as the track starts to get swamped with people. And the next on the line is Jerome Vassia. Jerome outside the top 32, has to do it here. The Frenchman has only one run to get the job done.
Yeah, lots of pressure on the shoulders of the French Drift Championship CEO. As he waits for our marshals to give him the clear. A lot of smoke still standing just on the track, but we are going now. Jerome Vassia to get himself into the main show. Can he do it? After traveling all the way from France. Jerome Vassia, nice line through that first section. And struggling with the handling of this car. Not what he's used to. Just comes off the 5th clip a little bit early now, but this looking like a much improved run from his first attempt, Dave.
Yeah, he's actually getting around the circuit quite well here, and it had to do it all in this one run, so the pressure definitely on. And you know what, it might be enough. Might just be enough.
Yeah, that car almost pulling straight as he crossed the line, but just keeping it at an angle enough to get himself, well, will he go into the top spots? Jumps into 28th position, and I think with the remaining drivers to go, it looks like you know, he could be safe there.
Well, you know, there's a couple of guys, those internationals that haven't, there's 3 or 4 of them that haven't put in runs, so let's see how it unfolds. Moving on to our next driver on the line,
which will be Adam Simmons. He sits on a 61. He's currently inside the top 32 in 31st position.
Adam Simmons ready to go. And he is off the line. Adam Simmons, as you said before, just sitting near that drop zone, needs a solid run here. The Englishman has to get the job done.
Yeah, representing Competition Clutch and Team Slide Motorsport. He's here for, washing wide on entry there. Just getting a little bit wrong, and that will affect his score, Dave.
Yeah, missing clip 2 completely and stalling up a little bit into mobile as well. So, you know what, we're watching some great drifting out there, but it's exceptional at the top. And right now, this is one of the toughest qualifying sessions these guys will ever be in, and you've got to be perfect. And Adam Simmons making a few errors there. Hard to know, though. Hard to know.
Yeah, important to remember, so many drivers. We started off with 48 drivers contending for 32 spots. So a lot of our grid will be going home early. Adam Simmons doesn't manage to improve on his first run, so stays where he is.
Nervous moments for him.
Nervous wait for him, with 2 drivers still to come on zeros. Danny Neville up next. He's on a 61 and sitting outside the top 32 also. So he is just in 33rd position. He needs a big run here to get himself into the game. And you know what, Dave? I think he's going to need the biggest run that he has put in all weekend as well.
Yeah, this has got to be the run of the year for Danny Neville. If he wants to make it into that top 32, he's got to put in a near perfect run representing Lunatics by Nature. Can the tire Monster Energy, can the man from the Middle East get himself into the top 32? He will be, of course, playing at the Jap Fest after party in the right venue tonight, but can he get it right today? And not so bad so far from Danny Neville, missing a couple of clipping zones there. Huge horsepower, this 740 horsepower LSX race-built engine, and right now this car, I would imagine, has never seen mud before. It is now covered in it as dealing with the conditions is Danny Neville. That's going to be on the wire, I would imagine, for a spot in the top 32, but let's see which way the judges go. He actually blinded himself in the car, so he actually stopped.
Well, look at that, Dave. Score dropping in, and judges deeming that score or that run not worthy of a better score than his first attempt. Danny Neville bows out of the competition.
Yeah, just about to.
You will see him in action again, though, if you go to the right venue tonight, where he will be taken to the decks. And you know what? He's a hell of a driver, but behind the decks, he is one hell of a performer. I was lucky enough to see him over in Ibiza earlier in the month.
And his teammate now leaves the line also outside the top 32. Sultan Al-Qasimi resides in Abu Dhabi. Very similar car to the one that just went before, except this is a fully carbon bodied S15. He's going very wide and he's in there. Oh, he's hit cones, and can he keep it together? He can. Yeah, drops the wheel but stays on track, and he's still in the fight here.
Yeah, keeps the right foot planted and keeps this run going, but will it be enough? He needs a big score. He needs to score better than a 61.5.
It's not bad finish to the run here for Sultan Al-Qasimi, dropping a wheel on clip 3.
And for a man who had very limited practice this morning.
Yeah, could have all gone wrong when he dropped that wheel, but it looks like he actually got the car back on track.
Look at this, Dave. Sultan Al-Qasimi gets himself into 31st position with a 62.1. Drops Darren Coates out of the top 32.
Yeah, pictures being taken of the car as it goes back to the pits by people arriving to the venue. Another V8, and a third in a row. That is Phil Morrison's 715 horsepower, 7.4 litre LSX powered Corolla.
Yeah, he was on an 84 from his first run, so he is in the main show. He sits in 9th, but can he go top?
Very aggressive entry from Phil Morrison there, right to the edge of the circuit, and huge speed. And this thing just grips and goes, Eddie. It looks so scary to drive.
Yeah, even Phil says this is the most challenging car that he has ever driven, and he's been on the drift scene for, you know, a long number of years, and if he's struggling to drive it, then it has to be a handful. But Phil doing a good job and looking quite comfortable out there at the moment.
It sort of barks as it goes around the track. It's a crazy sound. I know you guys in the live stream can't pick it up the same as they hear in the flesh, but it is a very unusual sound, that car. It sounds so aggressive.
Phil stays where he is, though, yeah. Dave, not able to improve. So moving it on, Matthew Stevenson next off the line. He's outside, outside that top 32 on a 55 from his first run. Needs to put in a big run here to try and get himself into the game. Needs to pull everything together, get everything, you know, dialed in perfectly, and hope for the best from the judges.
Yeah, let's see how Matt Stevenson gets on. A little wobble on entry there, just throws the weight one way to the other.
Did just looked a little bit sketchy on entry, Dave.
Yeah, he's been saying he's suffering with brake issues on this car, brakes locking on and building up too much pressure, so it does almost look like that maybe still causing some issues for the Slide Motorsport driver. He puts on way too much angle into that corner, but just about gets away with it. Not a technically perfect run there from the Slide Motorsport man.
No, and not what Matthew Stevens would have been hoping for. We await the judges' scores to see if it is enough to get him into the main show. No, unfortunately, Matthew Stevens is going to stay where he is, outside the top 32, and the end of his weekend and the end of his 2017 season also.
Now, we move it on. The next driver will be Oliver Evans. Now, there's 5 drivers remaining. If they were all to score above an 89, then Jack Shanahan would have to do the work in the top 32. So right now,
if they were all to score better than a 93, rather.
93, my mistake. And also, yeah, and to be honest with you, 2 of them have already done that. So let's see what happens. It's about to get interesting here in qualifying as Oliver Evans throws it in for his run.
Yeah, Ollie pushed down to 10th position for the moment. Can he do something to improve on that in that Washloo S14? I'm intrigued now, Dave, because I actually haven't Googled what Washloo is.
Yeah, well, you've got a half an hour or 45 minutes before we come back for battle action, and I advise you to just Google it and see what it is. Oh, it ties the wall on the way out is Oliver Evans. I would not like to be going up against Oliver Evans in the mood he's in today in battles later on, because he is driving incredibly aggressively.
Could we see Oliver Evans going up against James Dean? That's something I would like to see.
I would like to see a lot of fantasy battles today, and I think hopefully we get through some of them by the time we get to our finish today.
So Oliver Evans stays where he is, doesn't improve on his first score. We move on to Martin Richards. He sits on a 77. Look at that, Dave. Perfect angle of...
Yeah, Martin Richards needs a perfect angle on entry as well, because he now has been knocked down the order. He has been knocked down to 16th from top 10, so he's got to come in pretty hot. And look at this entry from Richards. Full aggression from the Driftworks R32 as he now puts together, big block of a handbrake there as he transitions back. Judges not liking that as much, but they did like the entry, so let's see which way it weighs up. Can he finish the run with a perfect score? Transitions back.
This is good from Richards.
He looks very comfortable out there, Eddie. I think he is looking very strong for battles later on.
Yeah, I don't think this score is going to go, top 10. However, certainly a driver that you wouldn't look forward to coming up against in the battles.
Yeah, and I said another view there from our journal. You can see how many people are packing into Mondello Park here.
That being said, Martin Richards does score an 80.75, 13th position for him.
Nice.
And it's getting tight at the top.
Well, here's a very stressful man on the line now, because Matt Carter, who is the current British Drift champion, won it last weekend, now sits outside the top 32, spun on his first run, has to score at least a 61.5 to get himself into the top 32. He's got it all to do here. Team Jaspeed, Max's Tires, one run to get it done. The current UK champion, can he get himself into the top 32 battles?
Well, we are about to find out as he fires it through the first corner. This looking good from Matt Carter now, needs to keep it going. Oh, Matt Carter bogs down a little bit, just about keeps this car moving, but his score will certainly be hurt significantly for that as he throws it down onto the wall. And not the Matt Carter we're accustomed to seeing this season, Dave. Nervous times for the Japspeed driver. Will he do enough to get into that top 32?
Good through the first 3 clips, then he had a big error coming out of Mobile 1, so I don't know, I'd imagine from my perspective he's just about going to creep in, and I think that's what's going to happen. He does. Just creeps into 29th position with a 66. So Matt Carter, who is hashtag the door hunter as he calls himself, but he's going to have to really up his game for the battles later on. But he's in the game. He's still in the top 32. Now, 3 drivers remaining. 3 Formula Drift drivers. Dean Carney being the first, representing Oracle Lighting, Achilles Radial in that JZX demo car. He says that it's not 100%, but he's given it a go. At the moment, he is automatically qualifying in 31st position, but can he improve his battle or the order of where he's going to battle first? Let's see what happens as Carney throws it in.
Yeah, Carney fires it through the first corner. You know what, we've seen some really high moments from Dean Carney this season in Formula Drift. He's back on home soil here this weekend just to put on a show, not taking it too seriously. But look at this run, Dave. Losing the tail lights, losing the rear bumper as he smashes the walls.
Yeah, he's definitely
and takes it over the line, and the guys at 360 Wrap are going to have their work cut out for themselves trying to get that car.
That was a very good run. It's a big car to get around here, and I think that's definitely going to improve his score dramatically. It was actually technically very good.
Yeah,
so.
Dean Carney jumps up to 12th position with an 82.5, so not bad in a very difficult car to handle.
No, sending bits of glass flying into the grass here at Mondello Park. Leaves us with 2 drivers remaining for the last qualifying session of the year and the 2017 Irish Drift Championship. We'll keep you up to date with the championship. We'll keep you up to date with the scores, but what I can announce right now is that technically you have a 2017 Irish Drift champion, because Jack Shannon, sitting in first position, cannot be knocked further than 3rd at the moment. So therefore, it looks like, and we're only provisionally saying it, that he looks like he'll take the championship for the year. But 2 guys on the grid are definitely going to be in Jack's target today, which is Wiańcek and Dean, 2 teammates from Formula Drift. One, the Formula Drift Rookie of the Year, more than likely from Poland. He is driving the D-Mac, a Group D 240SX. His car, 666 brake horsepower, dog box, rear end. This thing is a machine. This is not a rental car. This thing is now one of the most competitive cars in the grid. He's got every chance of taking down the streak. And look at the entry from Peter Wiańcek as he throws it into that first corner. That's perfect. Absolutely perfect so far.
Yeah, and even the massive angle that he carries through the midsection of the track, Dave. Really, really strong run here from Peter Wiańcek. Inch perfect again as he goes down onto the walls. And you know what? Peter Wiańcek could be the spanner in the works for some of our drivers here this weekend. I think he's going to cause a lot of trouble to the Irish drivers.
I think he actually even blew a silencer off the car there as he came across the finish line. There was pieces of pipework going. But will that be enough to top Jack Shanahan's score. At the moment, it will not. He will stay in third position with a 91.7 from his first run, leaving one driver remaining. His return to home soil competition, his only home competitive event this year in the Budman Auto Falcon Tire S14. It is, of course, the machine, James Deane. He is in fourth position at the moment at 91.4. Will he send a message to the rest of the grid and beat Jack Shanahan's 93.5 as we head for top 32 later today? What can he do? He currently holds the record if he even gets to that. We don't want to jinx it, but he only has to qualify at the last round of Formula Drift to win the Formula Drift Championship. But can he win here as well? A place that he has found it difficult to win in the past sometimes. Let's see what he's got. James Deane takes to the track. Big entry and almost backwards into the first car. James Deane's going for top spot here.
Yeah, as ever, James Deane putting on a big show here in Mondello Park, using every last inch of concrete and tarmac at him on this Mondello circuit. Shredding Falcon tires, throws it onto the wall. What about that from a wall run from James Deane? Near perfect. Now, can he go top? Can he beat the 93.5 of Jack Shanahan? Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together.
It's the last run.
Returning James Deane.
It's the last run of qualifying for the 2017 IDC season. Jack Shanahan had a 93.5. Where will James Deane drop in? And James Deane scores a 96.5, top of qualifying. Deane, Shanahan, Larner, Viansek, McKeever, Kiley, O'Sullivan, Stone, Morrison, and Evans. That are your top 10. We are back later on for top 32 action. If you're here in attendance, hit up the IDC merchandising store. Check out the amazing cars on display. We're back for battle action here at 2 o'clock for top 32, where we go head to head. And someone's got to win this, someone's got to lose this. But for me and Eddie, we're back very soon with all the battle action. Streak on the line, 12 countries, crazy intensity. It's IDC round 5, it's round 4 of the Drift Super Series. I can't wait to see what's going to happen. Eddie, we're back soon.
We are indeed.